Tanya, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Mario.
Speaker mic. David, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Mario.
Thank you. Audio check 1, 2, 2, 1, 2.
Recording in progress.
Testing sound, visuals, all clear. Thank you.
Madam Speaker,
There will now be a moment of silent prayer or meditation. Please be seated. Order, honorable members. I'd like to announce that in today's question paper, there are questions which have been transferred from written to oral questions in terms of Rule 146. All these questions are directed to the Minister of Defense and Military Veterans. Consequently, an additional 30 minutes will be added to today's question time for these purposes provided for in terms of Rule 137, subsection 5B. Today, we've got questions to the Ministers in Peace and Security cluster. The only item on today's order paper is questions addressed to ministers in the cluster. There are 4 supplementary questions on each question. Parties have given an indication of which questions their members wish to pose as supplementary questions. Adequate notice was given to parties for this purpose. The members who will pose supplementary questions will be recognized by the presiding officer. In accordance with the opportunities for supplementary questions, the principle of fairness, among others, has been applied. If a member who is supposed to ask a supplementary question through the virtual platform is unable to do so for technical difficulties, the party whip on duty will be allowed to ask the question on behalf of their member. When all the supplementary questions have been answered by the executive, we will proceed to the next question on the order paper. The first question has been asked by the Honorable X Ngola to the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development. The question is about the department's progress in implementing the Public Protector's instruction to conduct an audit of all courts to assess their infrastructure needs in relation to gender-based violence cases. As outlined in the report of systemic investigation into administrative deficiencies relating to gender-based violence and whether her department has met the given deadline of 30 April 2025. Honorable the Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, and appreciate the question from Honorable Ngola. On gender-based violence, the department has adopted a victim-centered approach, which is aimed at ensuring that the victims are given the services, the best services, but also are able to be attended to in a conducive environment to deal with cases and also avoid secondary victimization. Honorable Speaker, thus the minor capital works audit of the 38 courts visited by the public protector was prioritized and included in the 82 courts targeted in the 2024-2025 financial year in terms of upgrading and the work that needs to be done. I must highlight that despite the initial target that was given, the department has successfully completed 108 minor capital works projects, exceeding the planned scope, but also in response to the need that arises, and therefore being able to do more with less. In addition, the public protector required that an audit of the furniture and office equipment also be finalized within 180 calendar days from the date of the report. Unfortunately, this deadline was not met, and therefore an extension was required and requested from the public protector to finalize the audit. I can report, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, that the audit of all 9 provinces have been completed and procurement plans have been initiated for this financial year so that we can be able to implement. Over that, I have been able to visit some of the courts myself together with the Deputy Minister to be able to ensure that we can see for ourselves the status of our courts, but more so, not only dealing with the infrastructure and dealing with the filing and ensuring that the records and the files are ready, are kept safe, and victims are able to go to court without any delays and any postponement because of administrative issues. Thank you very much, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Minister. I've been informed that Honorable Matafa will take charge of the first question on behalf of Honorable Ngola in accordance with Rule 137, subsection 10A. Honorable Matafa.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Minister, for the comprehensive response. Considering the genesis of the report of the Public Protector and the frustration and pain experienced by victims and survivors of gender-based violence, how is the department measuring client satisfaction in the handling of matters of gender-based violence? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Matafa. Currently, there isn't a formal system that is unified or specifically looking at GBV cases. So we utilize the overall mechanisms of analysis and also feedback in terms of the work that is being done in all our courts. It's something that we're looking at, but more so for us is that we work together with, for example, the NPOs who are working within our court systems. We also do our own monitoring in terms of tracking of data, and we are able to check in terms of the time it takes in terms of the reports that are getting in. I must report, honorable members, that as JCPS cluster, we actually recently as well went back to look at our intervention as government to say whether are we responding adequately and where are the gaps, and a 90-day plan to turn around where we are sitting, but also to improve. And justice and constitutional development has a pillar or a framework and framework that has been assigned to ensure that we all operate in an integrated manner as JCPS, but also in a victim-centric approach. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Advocate G. Breitenberg, the DA.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honourable Minister, security at our courts depend, of course, largely on the effective screening of everyone who enters our court buildings. What steps can be taken to ensure that scanners and other security systems work effectively, are repaired and maintained properly and timelessly, and more importantly, are replaced before the end of their lifespan? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much. Definitely, one of the issues that we have done, even meeting with the Chief Justice together with heads of courts, this has been an issue that became in the forefront for us to be able to look at this. I must say, honorable members, with the cuts in terms of budgets, unfortunately, they are limited what we can do. But what we have done is to look at augmenting where we have challenges in terms of infrastructure, for example, the ICT equipments for searching, and we augment it with human beings and physical security. Sometimes the report we get is that that's not sufficient. So we're looking at courts that literally have high incidence rates to be prioritized, and looking at areas as well, so augmented by security in terms of our police officers who are actually at the courts as well as part of the security. It's one of the areas that we continue to work on, as we think that currently the situation is not satisfactory at our courts. In recent instances, you would have seen the Wynberg Magistrate Court and the court in KwaZulu-Natal, where incidences have happened inside a court where a gunfire had been shot. And this is what we are trying to avoid as we do analysis to check what would have been the cause. We need IT equipments that are high, cannot be interfered. And for that, we need quite a lot of money to be able to do that.
Minister, are you done?
Thank you very much, Speaker. Yes.
Thank you. Honorable Trollip from Action SA.
Thank you, Speaker. I will take the question on behalf of Honorable Trollip. Minister, is there any intervention that the minister can come up with to help with the endless postponement on cases of GBV that leave those of us that are victims with an inability to find closure? We have cases that are postponed for up to 4-5 years.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. What we have done as the department together with the judiciary was to previously there used to be a committee that monitored overall case backlog, look at what are the causes, because you find that the reasons are different. So what we have done was we re-established that committee to try and assist in dealing with case backlog. But more so, what we have found, especially in cases that relate to children, is that we have a challenge in terms of our technology, because we know that the SOS that are supposed to be utilized, especially for children to be testifying, you find that they would be in different lifespan. And I think that Honorable Bredenberg was speaking about as well, that you'd find that they would be at different lifespan. Currently, for those systems, the department is looking at their own procurement systems, process, but also have called on partnership to be able to ensure that we can be able to deal with that. Secondly, another issue that we need to look at, honorable members, is that sometimes the delays are because of the defendant. So they would utilize all avenues to be able to delay a court proceeding. And unfortunately, or fortunately, because of our laws, that has to be done, and the court has to follow that process, because otherwise a person can come back and say they have not been tried fairly and the process was not correct, and therefore can lead to appeals and appeals. So it's one of those things that we have to deal with. Another area is that we have identified that the Criminal Procedures Act needs to be reviewed. We are looking at introducing this. The JCPS said to us, we must introduce it latest by September to Cabinet so that it can come to Parliament. And it's one of the areas that will assist us in the delays and also improve on handling some of the cases. One of the proposals is to deal with issues of bail in gender-based violence.
Thank you, Honorable Member.
Thank you.
Your time is up. Honorable Swart.
Thank you, Speaker. Arising from your response, Honourable Minister, the ACDP appreciates the progress that has been made in dealing with the remedial action as set out in the Public Protector's report. Now, the 7th remedial action called upon the rollout of online applications for domestic violence orders to assist victims to apply after hours and remotely. This, the ACDP believes, is very important, and had it been available, Ms. Korcha, whose tragic death resulted in the Public Protector's inquiry, her life could have been saved. You indicated in your reply on the 8th of April that the solution to online applications is currently being taken through quality assurance, and it will be deployed. Honourable Minister, has this quality assurance been completed, and when will the online application system be deployed, as this, as I indicated, is a very important tool to fight gender-based violence? Thank you.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Swart. Thank you, Speaker. Yes, indeed, the quality assurance process has been completed. We're in the pilot phase, which I'm told that the results are positive. We are able to start implementing the online, especially now it's on the protection orders that are able to be done online. We have issued the instructions to our prosecutors as well in terms of the guidelines of handling some of these issues. What we are now working together with the police is around the implementation or the execution of the court, the protection orders, and this is part of what we are doing within the 90 days intervention program. Thank you.
Thank you. We now move to question number 534, which has been asked by Honorable I. Cameron to the Minister of Police. The question is with reference to the regulation of firearms in private security sector, where he has discovered that some provisions in the newly released draft regulations of the Private Security Industry Regulation Act.
Yeah, I see.
Order.
Miss Podium.
Order.
Yeah.
Can you please mute, Honorable Minister? Can I repeat the question? The question is with reference to the regulation of firearms in the private security sector, whether he has discovered that some provisions in the newly released draft regulations of the Private Security Industry Regulation Act, Act 56 of 2001, might constitute an overreaction which could hinder legitimate operations of compliant security providers rather than address the actual source of firearms misuse. I've been informed that the Deputy Minister will be answering questions on behalf of the Minister. Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Speaker. The draft firearm amendment regulation doesn't constitute regulatory overreach. The proposed measures are a considered and evidence-based response to serious risks observed within segments of the private security industry. Incidents such as the sale and false reporting of firearms by a security company in Mpumalanga and the discovery of unauthorized possessions of over 40 firearms by a Cape Town firm underscore widespread vulnerabilities in firearm control. Moreover, the industry reported over 1,600 firearms lost or stolen between 2023 and 2024, reflecting critical lapses in accountability and internal control systems. These patterns of misconduct not only endanger public safety, but also erode public confidence in the industry's ability to manage lethal weapons responsibly. In this context, the regulations are not excessive, but necessary. These regulations aim to enhance traceability, ensure uniform standard of compliance, and address gaps that allow firearms to be diverted into criminal hands. By introducing stricter licensing, training, and audit requirements, the regulatory framework will strengthen oversight, deter misuse, and promote a culture of lawful firearms stewardships. This is far from penalizing compliant providers, as the regulations seek to uplift the industry's overall standard and reaffirm its role as a legitimate and trusted extension of public safety infrastructure. The amendment regulations do not seek to disarm the industry, as the authority does not issue firearm licenses. Security officers will still protect themselves if they are competent to handle firearms. In the main, this amendment seeks to regulate the issuing, possession, and use of firearms in the private security industry and ensure that private security companies operate with proportionality, professionalism, and public accountability. There have been notable incidences where security companies have been involved in criminal activities, just to mention a few. Firearms sold and falsely reported as stolen. In Mpumalanga, the owner of a security company was arrested for allegedly selling dozens of firearms, including rifles and pistols, to another security company and then falsely reporting these firearms as stolen. This act not only violated firearm control laws, but also posed a significant risk to public safety by potentially placing weapons into unregulated hands. In Cape Town, a security firm was found in possession of 42 firearms, 34 pistols, and 8 shotguns that were licensed to a different company based in Centurion. The discovery led to the arrest of a 57-year-old suspect and raised concerns about the practice of fronting, where companies unlawfully share or transfer firearm licenses. Between 2023 and 2024, Honorable Speaker, private security companies
Honorable
reported-
Deputy Minister, your time is up. I'm
Thank
sure
you.
some of those issues you may put on your response as a follow-up. Supplementary question from Honorable Cameron.
Thank you, Speaker. Deputy Minister, given concerns from stakeholders that the draft regulations may impose blanket restrictions without distinguishing between high-risk and low-risk security operations, could the department have conducted a regulatory impact assessment to determine how these rules will affect different categories of service providers, particularly smaller firms or those operating in rural areas?
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you. Thank you for the follow-up, Honorable Member. The regulations will not in any way impact the private security industry. They are meant to ensure that at all material times, firearms are controlled and we know what is happening both to those who will be selling firearms and those who will be buying firearms for their security companies. It's meant to regulate and make sure that we're able to trace where firearms are at any particular given time. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable D.M. Skosana.
Deputy Minister.
Thank you.
Order, Honorable Member. I am not sure now, Chief Whip of the MK Party, who is answering?
Yeah, the member in the assembly will ask a question. Sorry about that, Speaker. Proceed.
Okay. Deputy Minister, in light of the recently published draft regulations of the Private Security Industry Regulation Act, Act 56 of 2001, and considering that South Africa's private security sector is the largest in Africa, employing over 500,000 registered security officers, how does the minister justify the introduction of stringent firearm restrictions that threaten to cripple the operational capacity of legitimate security providers who contribute to community safety, where SAPS remains under-resourced and understaffed under IMF indices debt-driven austerity measures? Furthermore, can the minister provide specific evidence and data demonstrating that the proposed restrictions target the primary sources of firearm misuse in South Africa, rather than imposing bureaucratic barriers on compliant?
Thank you, Honorable Member. Your time is up. Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Speaker, and thanks for the follow-up question. The regulations are in no way intended to cripple the security industry. Their intention is to control the movement of firearms. As I've explained earlier on, where a security company sold their firearms to another security company without following due processes. So these regulations are intended to make sure that as you buy firearms for your own use, at a time that you're no longer in need of those particular firearms, you must be able to send them back properly to people who are designated to deal with that. So it will never in any way make it difficult or create a stringent environment for control. It is going to be easy for the industry to comply where the need arises. And if people come to do inspection, they will be able to see what has happened to the firearms that you have bought at any given stage. The role that the security industry continue to play as a force multiplier to support the police, they will continue to do so. The regulations will not be a hindrance in that regard. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. The next supplementary question comes from Mr. M.N. Paulson.
Thank you, Speaker. Minister, in the light of the growing dominance of the private security industry, now exceeding the South African Police Service in both manpower and firepower, do you consider the recently introduced regulations a tacit admission that the state has lost effective control over the sector? And given the concerning increase in lost and stolen firearms in the hands of private security companies, 1,648 in 2023-2024 and 847 reported in just the first half of 2024-2025, and recent media reports linking some security firms to extortion, political assassinations, and violence within the taxi industry, do you believe that the private security industry regulatory authority, CIRA, has sufficient capacity to monitor compliance and curb criminality in the sector? And what
Thank you,
specific
Honorable
interventions
Member.
are being
Your time is
implemented to
up.
ensure accountability
Deputy
and
Minister.
public safety? Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you for the follow-up question, Honorable Paulse. Yes, indeed, the number of security companies has risen in the country. The introduction of the regulation is not in any way a submission of our inability to oversee the sector. CIRA is capable, and it has demonstrated on several occasions that it is able to oversee this specific sector. The regulations are intended to control the management and the movement of arms, firearms that are bought and are in control of the security industry. This will further assist us to be able to do the work that CIRA is mandated to do in terms of the law. Thanks, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Dana.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Deputy Minister, I wish it was not the case, but unfortunately, as we all very well know, the police cannot adequately protect South African citizens. That's why millions of us rely on private security services for protection. The regulations to the Private Security Industry Regulation Act has created the widespread perception, and I think it's been echoed here today as well, that the Department of Police is attempting to sabotage or restrict, and I think you yourself used the word cripple, the private security industry, while it could actually aid the police in ensuring peace and security and keeping all of us safe. Deputy Minister, you also used the phrase force multiplier, and I think that was quite apt. So does the department have any concrete plans or strategy in utilizing or working with the private security industry to indeed multiply your force and keep all of us safe and ensure peace and security? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. It's incorrect to say that the South African police is failing to protect the people of South Africa. We are not. And the issue, the role that the private security is playing It's an important role that we acknowledge as SAPS and we do work with them. There are a number of examples that we can give where we are working together with the security industry to fight crime. For instance, within the cash in transit space, we are working together with that industry to deal with cash in transit crime. The regulations, as I said, they are intended to control firearms. They are not intended to cripple the security industry, and they will not in any way do that. Yes, there is a perception, that's why we're having this discussion, that the regulations are intended to cripple the private security industry, but that is not the intention. The intention is outlined in the regulations themselves. It is just that those who are in the space, they have a feeling or a view that the intention is to cripple the industry, but it is not, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. We're now moving to question number 482, which has been asked by Honorable Mani to the Minister and the Presidency. The question is whether, considering the mandate of the State Security Agency to detect and neutralize threats to national security, what measures has she implemented since 2018 to investigate and respond to the proliferation of unmonitored private airstrips and landing strips, particularly on remote farms, which are increasingly suspected of facilitating illicit cross-border activities, and the number of such unregistered and lightly regulated landing strips that has the State Security Agency been informed? Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and thank you to this opportunity to respond to the question. The SSA is aware of the proliferation of airstrips across South Africa. The response to the monitoring of the airstrip relates to the monitoring of the airspaces, which is the mandate of the South African National Defence Force, which is the Air Force. And SSA forms part of the National Aviation Security Committee, which has appointed dedicated capacity to investigate the risk associated with the limited monitoring of airstrips in South Africa. And SSA forms part of this committee, which is led by the Defence Force, Air Force. However, in pursuit of our mandate as the SSA and in support of the Department of Transport, we conduct continuous airport security risk assessment, and this work covers all public airports and private airports. This work has been extended from this financial year to cover aerodomes or small airports and airfield so that we can operate within our mandate to deal with the concerns that have been raised by the Honorable Member. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Mani.
Thank you, Speaker. Honorable Minister, if these suspicious airstrips are truly being kept under surveillance, as you make us believe, then how do you explain the ongoing smuggling of drugs, human trafficking, proliferation of unlicensed firearms and ammunition, endangered wildlife, and foreign currency through these strips, all without not a single interception reported by the SSA? Could it be that the infamous Phala dollars are also have also entered through this route in these farm strips, given that SARS custom at all official airports have no record of such transactions? Are we to conclude, Minister, that your agency has failed to detect these threats, or that elements of the states are actually complicit? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as we have indicated, we have extended the security risk assessment to the aerodomes so that we can deal with that concern. However, the monitoring of airspaces, which the member is referring to, relates to the work of the South African Defence Force, the Air Force. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Dikola.
Thank you, Speaker. We have some 400 airports and private airstrips, and
On the whole, they cater to local communities, private business people, and aviation enthusiasts. And as I've always stated, there are amongst those airstrips which are used under the radar to drop off drugs, take out drugs, move kidnapped victims, export poached tusks or living animals. The list is very long indeed. However, the majority of these strips are used legitimately for tourists to get to game farms, for medical transport to stock farms. So is the SSA, hopefully working in tandem with crime intelligence, targeting those strips used for criminal activities while clearing those who aren't? I fear, obviously, that the SSA will do what they tend to do, block all use by anyone in case some use is criminal. Is that the case? And if not, what is the risk level? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. As I've indicated in my earlier response, we have extended the coverage of the work of security risk assessment to cover the aerodomes, and this has commenced this year in terms of the assessments. And it is not our responsibility as the SSA to decide who operates, who doesn't operate an airstrip. Our responsibility is to conduct an assessment, security assessment, and provide the report to the relevant authorities, who will then take a decision of the implementation. Our job is to support also the work of the aviation committee that is set up by government for us to make sure that all risk and prevention of crime taking place in this country or any threat to national security is attended to. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Niehaus. Sorry, Honorable Niehaus, if you can take a seat. Honorable Manya, what's the point of order?
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I'm not here to dictate how the minister must answer, but this is a very this is a very important issue we're dealing with. If we have a cabinet minister that's not able to give an answer that gives comfort that issues of national security are taken care of, and she keeps deflecting to SANDF all the time, this is totally unacceptable, Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member, but I'm sure you would recall that in the beginning, the minister did outline what the mandate of SSA, the mandate of defense, but also she indicated that some of the areas that you may have asked, it's only now that has been extended. But obviously, you can indicate to the Speaker, who will then refer the matter to the Minister, where exactly are your concerns in the way in which an answer has been given. Honorable Niehaus.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Speaker, can the Honorable Minister indicate specifically what measures are being taken to prevent these private airstrips from being used to smuggle unlicensed firearms? And especially, what further steps are being undertaken to detect legal action and take legal action against illegal paramilitary training camps, often linked to these private airstrips? Disturbingly, these paramilitary training camps are often linked to right-wing, white supremacist groups who disguise themselves as security companies and self-defense training companies. Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. As I've indicated, starting from this financial year, which was the 1st of April 2025, we have extended the work of conducting security assessments to aerodomes. Aerodomes are small airports, including airfields. Why we have extended is because, as I've noted in my earlier response, we are concerned about the proliferation, but also the extent of illegal activities taking place, which are enabled through the aerodomes. And as I've also replied to, our mandate extends to us doing the assessments, which will include the profiling and the risk assessment and providing a report to the relevant department. That's why when I spoke, responding to the second question, I said, in support of the work of the Department of Transport, we have extended that work so that we can then provide the security assessment reports and indicate not only to the Department of Transport, but also to the other relevant law enforcement agencies so that they can then do their work of preventing crime. Our job is to forewarn and to do the necessary profiling. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable WM3. Honorable Thring.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Minister, unmonitored. Yes. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can.
Am I audible?
Honorable
thank
Thring,
you,
we
Speaker.
can hear you.
Minister. All right, let me try again. Minister,
Oh, we can
unmonitored
hear
private
you.
landing
Just ask
strips
your
in South
question.
Africa pose several dangers.
Continue, ask your question, Honorable Thring.
I'm trying to, Speaker. Minister, unmonitored private landing strips in South Africa pose several dangers, including safety risk from collisions with other aircrafts or objects, potential legal issues with South African civil aviation authorities, and the possibility of misuse for illicit activities like drug and human trafficking and the weaponizing of drones for terrorism. These strips can be a source of both risk to our regulated aviation sector and the public if not operated responsibly and within legal frameworks. Minister, what is your short, medium, and long-term plan to remove these risks and prevent the proliferation of unmonitored illegal airstrips? And in this regard, to what extent is there a multi-sectoral, disciplinary, or departmental engagement
Honorable
of
Member.
law
Time is up.
enforcement to uphold the regulations
Honorable
that
Minister.
govern the operating of private strips? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. As I've indicated, given the risk that honorable members are alluding to, we chose to extend the coverage of our work to cover the airfields and small airports. The reason being, we want to then be able to provide a comprehensive report that is informed and do the necessary profiling so that we can then advise the law enforcement agencies to then to prevent the commissioning of crime, to also support the Department of Transport, but also to feed back to the Civil Aviation Committee on airspace monitoring that is led by the Department of Defense, the Air Force, in terms of the gaps that were found and the improvement that may be required. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. We move to the next question, question number 504, which has been asked by Honorable Mahumapilo to the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation. The question is whether, considering the adoption of the people-centered oversight mechanism on international relations and cooperation, what actions are underway to ensure that communities in villages, townships, small towns, and municipalities play a significant role in the foreign policy discourse, and how will his department ensure that the mechanism translates into measurable and increased public understanding of global developments that affect their daily lives? Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. South Africa has adopted a distinctive and inclusive approach to foreign policy rooted in the principle of taking diplomacy to the people. The Department of International Relations and Cooperation has implemented a comprehensive outreach program aligned with parliamentary people-centered oversight framework. This public participation program is structured around 3 pillars: community-based Imbizo public engagements. These are large-scale public engagements held in both rural and urban areas, where government leaders interact directly with citizens. During these sessions, officials unpack South Africa's foreign policy objectives, priorities, programs, achievements, and milestones. A core aim is to bridge the gap between diplomatic work and its tangible impact on the daily lives of ordinary South Africans. These engagements are supported by a robust communication campaign that leverages community media in local languages to ensure accessibility and inclusivity. Additionally, the outreach is integrated into the national calendar, Events such as International Nelson Mandela Day serve as platform to bring members of the diplomatic corps into communities across the country. These occasions are used to educate, inform, and showcase the benefits of South Africa's international relations. Over the past 5 years, these initiatives have raised and donated more than 3 million rands to support community projects, hospices, shelters for orphanage children, and homes for the elderly. Some of the engagements hosted by DECO includes, amongst others, engagement as a ministry I hosted in a community outreach program in Mpumalanga and Velvedin Village in Tanzania district. The event was to popularize South Africa's foreign policy objectives, how these relate to achievements of domestic priorities, including our G20 priorities, and such events will continue. T20 Think Tank Africa High-Level Policy Dialogue, addressed by the Deputy President Paul Mashatile at Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, International Convention Center, Pretoria, on the 29th of April, 2025. Deputy Minister of International Relations and Corporations, Ms. Thandi Muraka, recently hosted a G20 outreach program at the Investor Vendor in Toyando. Minister of Small Businesses, Ms. Stella Ndabeni, also recently hosted an event related to small businesses international platform in relation to the G20. So there is such public engagements, including public lectures in our universities, including in international platforms. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Mahumapelo.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, how does the newly adopted people-centered oversight?
Order, honorable members, he's not Mahumapelo, but he's standing in for him as order, honorable member. It's not okay. Honorable member, can you please proceed?
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Order.
Yeah, I think in terms of the rules, I will be taking this question on behalf of the Honorable Minister, Honorable Mahumapelo.
Order.
Honorable Minister, how does the newly adopted people-centered oversight mechanism strengthen and complement existing initiatives such as the Young Diplomats Cadet Program, particularly in ensuring that young South Africans from diverse communities are meaningfully engaged in shaping and understanding our foreign policy? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. The program for the young diplomats, the cadet, help to integrate graduates from universities in the country to put them in training for our diplomatic engagements. And this has integrated a number of both in all institutions across the country, including underprivileged graduates to the level of international relations. This has also helped. We have also recently hosted the inaugural Aziz Pahad Peace and Security Human Rights Dialogue in Pretoria on Monday, the 31st of March, 2025, which was addressed by former President Thabo Mbeki, and young diplomats also participated in the platform looking into the future. We have also recently hosted, in partnership with the Gertrude Shope Women's Mediation Network, a solidarity conference on women, peace, security, voices of women within the global environment on escalating conflicts. This has also integrated young diplomats in terms of training them on mediation, in particular young women. So this program has been very impactful to bring not only just young diplomats, but young women to participate in processes of mediation, and also to be able to be trained in this field that is growing and necessary for their voices to be heard. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Order, honorable members. I just want to advise parties. When you allow your member to actually take a question for another member, ensure that the member, firstly, as honorable members of the EFF, Mente, were advising him to state before if they've not advised the table, because if they've advised the table, we will actually indicate. But secondly, members, if they are then asked to undertake that responsibility, they must not just do a tick box where they ask question and leave. The honorable member asked the question, even before the minister responded, he left the room. And I don't think that is respectful of the House and its members, as well as the minister who is being asked a follow-up question. Order, honorable member. Can we now move to Honorable Douglas for his follow-up question?
Your Honorable Speaker, in the light of recent adoption of the People-Centered Oversight Mechanism on International Relations and Cooperation, which purports to bring communities in villages, townships, small towns, and municipalities into meaningful participation in foreign policy discourse, how does the Minister justify the lack of budget and visible community engagement and public consultation on critical international agreements, foreign mining operations, and its impacts on communities and traditional leader beneficiation over the past 8 years, which has direct implications for local economies and job creation? Will there be a budget, or is this also going to be more GNU lip service? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Indeed, there is a budget dedicated to our public diplomacy program. It may not be enough to do everything that we want. It is limited. We will have to use it to the best of what our program can be able to afford. And we can be able to state that this program is clearly visible now across the country, augmented also by the G20 outreach program, and also with relations to the issues he has raised of critical minerals in all engagement that DERCO is involved in, from FOCAC to the EU to all bilateral engagements. We raise issues of community interest, particularly on value addition at source of the critical minerals, which is in the national interest of our country, to diversify, to industrialize, and to manufacture at source. So this continues to be an engagement that becomes very important as we engage in our international platforms to engage in the national interest of our country. And this is further augmented by the relevant line function department. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Mwango.
Arising from your response, Honorable Minister, studies by the Human Sciences Research Council and others reveal that misinformation about global affairs and foreign policy is on the rise, particularly in digitally underserved communities. Considering this, what specific methods, such as community dialogues, local media engagements, or educational partnerships, are being utilized to communicate South Africa's foreign policy objectives to ordinary citizens in rural and under-resourced areas under the People-Centered Oversight Mechanism?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Indeed, a very constructive engagement. We continue to participate, as I've said, in the public engagements, even at universities, platforms, community outreach programs that I've already mentioned, including to also point and show where there are fake news, even opinion pieces by various influential government leaders with regards to the correct and accurate situation pertaining in our country. And this has also been contextualized and clarified by our His Excellency, the President Cyril Ramaphosa, or particularly in relations to the white Afrikaner farmers, and also our own Minister of Police, Minister Senzo Mchunu, and the police in South Africa have also clarified the correct, accurate description of the data that it does not support the issue of persecution and hate crime in our country, but it's an issue that has got being attended to by the police in the context of crime in the Republic, but there is no data that points that there is a targeted criminal activity. So there is work and the whole of government approach dealing with all these issues, including GCIS leading in most of the public engagement platforms. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Zibi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Given the sudden change in the international relations and trade environment because of the new US administration, what work is the minister and his department doing with various business associations in South Africa in order to protect our exports and jobs in South Africa?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The question is a bit different, but I think it's in the interest of the nation that we respond to the question. There is work that DTIC and ourselves are doing to continue to diversify the markets with all the relevant departments that are responsible in terms of market access in the Middle East, in Asia, and other parts of the world, including the global north, anchored on the African continent through the platform of the Africa Free Trade Area, which will further augment the work of market diversification. But there's also a continuous engagement with our counterparts in Washington and the US to continue to state the strategic nature of South Africa's bilateral relations with the US, which is mutually beneficial. And I must mention that in many other parts of the world, the market access and products and working with South Africa is warmly welcomed by many parts of the world. And this is a work we need to continue to expand on, and also to continue to put trust and work with the WTO and other multilateral institutions that are aimed to ensure that there's fair trade in the world that will not jeopardize or prejudice developing countries like South Africa. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. We now move to question 455, which has been asked by Honorable V. Mentenkuna. We have not been invited in the wording, to the Minister of Home Affairs. The question inquires about the reasons that Home Affairs offices throughout the Republic are not more consistently utilizing mobile units to deliver services directly to the underserved communities to address the persistent issue of long queues and unserved clients, and whether he will provide a firm and public comment that no person will be turned away to long queues at their local Home Affairs offices. Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Allow me to begin my answer by indicating that the model that the GNU inherited after the May 2024 election in the Department of Home Affairs was largely based on the idea of brick and mortar offices. There are currently 342 such Home Affairs offices across the country, as well as the 220 mobile units that the Honourable Member refers to. However, even under ideal circumstances with full staffing, budget, and everything else, this will not be enough to eliminate the queues and long traveling distances that people, particularly in rural areas, face in a country as big as ours and with over 62 million people that need to be served. This is why we are now building a fundamentally new model through our vision to deliver Home Affairs at home. To bring Home Affairs much closer to home, including in rural areas, we are working to expand the successful pilot project with bank branches from the current 30 bank branches to over 1,000. This will instantly expand access across urban and rural areas, as clients will then be able to obtain these vital Home Affairs services in their local bank branch without the need to travel great distances, as is already happening in some urban areas. But even this is just the beginning, because our ultimate goal is much more ambitious. We want to turn Home Affairs into a fully digital-first department. This means that clients will then be able to access our services online through self-service platforms. Once this digital transformation work is complete, I can indeed give the assurance that Home Affairs services will become available 24/7 accessible in bank branches, but also online from anywhere in the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mentor. Nkuna.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Minister, with all the plans that you are outlining now, we want direct answers with an indication of the 200 plus mobiles you're talking about. Where are they? Because the people of Umtata, OR Tambo, Krisani, Ekwakwa don't have those services. Where are they exactly? But more importantly, old people, people with small babies, pregnant women, and people with disabilities are turned away or cut off from the queues, being expected to come back the following day. And these are grants recipients. They spend their last 100, 200 rand return from rurals to go to the urban areas for services, yet getting turned back with no regard of where will they get another money for transport. The third thing is babies are born in hospitals, and only tertiary hospitals have got home affairs officials in them. Why are other hospitals where the service of giving babies is available? Why don't you have officials of home affairs stationed in those hospitals so that the babies are recorded and registered right there so that there is no up and down? Please give us an indication of whether the mobiles, we will go to the home affairs as public representatives to fetch the mobiles and take them to the people. Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Let me just start by indicating that my office is very happy to receive specific issues. I think Umtata was mentioned, a number of other cases. So if the Honourable Member could just send that through. More broadly on the mobile units, as I indicated, there are about 220 of them that are deployed across the country. They are functional in all provinces, but the reality is that they are not enough. They will never be enough to make sure that people don't have to travel and that they don't have to stand in long queues. The Honourable Member is very correct in her description of what people are subjected to in these areas. And they are subjected to this precisely because of what I said in the beginning, that the model itself is flawed. It assumes that you can only get these services if you are able to travel 150 or 200 kilometers to a Home Affairs office. So the way we are resolving that is, as I indicated, by decentralizing access to Home Affairs services, and really making it vastly more accessible through deepening that successful pilot project with bank branches, but also bringing it onto the mobile devices. I think the reality we need to understand is that people who stand in those long queues, who are there for routine things like a smart ID application or a passport application, those are the people that we need to get out of the queues through the partnership with the banks and through technology, precisely so that we're able to serve more complex cases. What the Honourable Member has indicated is not even yet the worst of it. The worst of it is as it relates to South Africans themselves who are undocumented. And at the moment, Home Affairs capacity is vastly overstretched simply because the model itself assumes that people have to go to these brick and mortar buildings. Finally, briefly on the birth registrations, indeed, we are also working on digital transformation in that space so that you're not required to have officials all over the country. You can let technology do the work for you in a secure manner. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Matopa.
Thank you very much, Chair. This is quite a challenge and a financial burden on our people, queuing for long hours just to be sent home without being serviced. Security guards are being used at the Home Affairs offices to control the queues. And as we know, Minister, in rural areas, our elderly people are not technology savvy. You're talking about bank branches. They are not user-friendly to our people who are staying in the rural areas. So my question would be, Minister, what strategies are currently in place to improve the deployment and efficiency of these mobile units in undeserved areas like the rural areas? And how does the minister plan to expand these efforts to ensure more consistent service delivery is given to these people? Because even the mobile units are not consistent with their times and their days that are going to the rural areas. I thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Just on the first point that's raised by the Honourable Member around the queuing and the financial burden, I think we're all at idem about that. That is exactly as I've indicated why we are going to work to decentralize access so that everyone doesn't have to go and stand in the same queue, that they can actually interact with these services where they live, whether that's through a bank branch or through their smart device. Secondly, I would dispute the point suggesting that people in rural areas do not use banking services and as well as technology. I think South Africa is a huge success story around the uptake of technology in this space with close to 90% smartphone penetration. So I think we give South Africans too little credit when we say that. However, even in those cases where we have people who may not be comfortable using technology or visiting their bank, although I find that hard to believe, the benefits of this reform would be that there are far fewer people in the Home Affairs queue. And that is exactly the point that I'm making. By making sure that we get more access points through technology and through partnership, we are going to take people out of the Home Affairs queues who can use other channels, and that will free up Home Affairs to really zoom in on those people who need our help and support the most. And I think that that is really where the big benefit will come out of these reforms. As I indicated, it goes beyond some of the immediate problems. It goes to the problem of South African children who are not documented. And we need a dedicated campaign to resolve that, to bring dignity to those people. And we can only do it once we free up capacity, and we can do that through partnership and technology. Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Nontenja.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, Honourable Minister, since the Department of Home Affairs has embarked on an ambitious digital transformation initiative, which is arguably aiming to mitigate the long queues through initiatives such as the recent upgrades to the digital verification system, has the department implemented any specific measures to ensure that the citizens in remote areas are not further disadvantaged by the recent upgrades, including the department online branch appointment booking system? If so, how does the department plan to ensure the sustainability and accessibility of these improvements? If not, why?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, and to the Honourable Member for raising that. Well, the benefits of an improved digital verification service are going to be felt across the board. What many people don't know, perhaps, is that when you go to a bank or an insurance company or many other financial service entities, and they are required to verify your identity, that is done against the Home Affairs National Population Register. However, as I mentioned at the beginning, due to the underinvestment and neglect of technology in Home Affairs for a very long time, this was not functioning properly. And in some cases, it could take 24 hours for a verification to be done, and up to 50% of the verifications failed. So by investing in upgrading that system, we are going to dramatically expand the functionality of South Africa's financial sector. We are going to thereby benefit people in rural areas who can open bank accounts, who can transact, and who can get those financial service products in a much more seamless and secure manner through that verification system. So that is indeed one of the benefits of our focus on digital transformation. But as I've indicated here today, Deputy Speaker, really one of the big things that is coming, that is being worked on actively, is our ability to dramatically expand access to those smart ID and passport services to bank branches across the country, along with the functionality of using mobile applications. And I think those are going to be two really exciting steps forward for South Africa. Thank you.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Mashlatsi.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Minister, As our country's democracy matures, our collective memory and social imagination begin to fade, recalling the Batupili principle as introduced by the first democratic government of the Republic. We ought to remind ourselves that public service in the post-apartheid dispensation must be administrated in such a way that it remembers the disremembered humanity of African people who continue to be subjected to long queues at Home Affairs outlets, and particularly in African communities, not only as a matter of public service, but a deliberate attempt of putting Abantu Batu, African people first. Which African communities have been identified by your department for targeted improvement? Kanimambo.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Well, we work to deliver dignity for all South Africans. And as I've indicated in the answers so far today, it is going to be through these modernizing digital transformation reforms that we achieve that. But let me indicate what is not Batopele is long queues, is mountains of paperwork, is getting people to fill in forms when there's technology that can do the job more efficiently. It is not Batopele to have a system that in many ways still resembles something from the 1980s due to the way in which it is constructed around the model of brick and mortar, of papers and of manual processes. And so indeed, if we are going to deliver to all South Africans the modern, efficient, world-class government that they deserve, it's all going to start with the digital reforms that Home Affairs is working on. And I look forward to coming back, I really believe, within a matter of months to this House, and then to be getting from the members the feedback of how people across the country increasingly are able to access these services through those bank branches and then eventually through their mobile devices as well. Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. We now move to question number 468, which has been asked by the Honourable Mente.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. The minister had promised to send the list, but he didn't say when and where will the list go to of the mobiles.
Thank you, Honourable Mente. I don't know if the Honourable Minister is still online, if he could perhaps just take note of that. Honourable Minister, I don't know if you are in a position to give an indication of when and where you will send the list of the mobiles.
Deputy Speaker, I think, apologies, the indication was that those specific areas that the member had mentioned where there's a need, if those can be sent through to my office so that we can assist. I think she mentioned Mtata, but a number of others. And then I think a follow-up written question on any more information is certainly welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. We now proceed to the next question, 468, which has been asked by the Honourable Machi to the Minister of Correctional Services. The question is whether the ruling by the Constitutional Court affirming the rights of inmates to access study materials and use laptops for educational purposes, what monitoring systems that have been implemented to ensure that the specified access is not abused to commit further crimes and or communicate unlawfully with individuals outside correctional facilities. The Honourable Minister.
Dankie, agbare adjunct speaker. Ek gaan nie elke woord lees nie, maar ek sal die volledige antwoord sal ek indien. I want to start, and there must be just clarity that the finding of the Constitutional Court included that no, can I say, electronic equipment then going to be used in the facilities, in the cells, may have a modem, and that is important. Only enrolled students with institutions of higher learning will have access to the computers and the study material. On the other hand, Department of Correctional Services educators will ensure that all distance learning institutions are registered with the Department of Higher Education and Training, and that qualifications are accredited by the South African Qualifications Authority. Registration at higher learning institutions is subject to conditions that require the institution to be contacted to determine the requirements for the hardware and software prior to registration, no access to internet or any other hardware device that may impact negatively in the good order, administration, and security of the correctional center is allowed. Offenders with previous convictions relating to internet fraud are not allowed to register for any computer-related course. The head of the correctional center is responsible to ensure and to determine whether the inmate convicted of internet fraud or internet-related fraud has been sufficiently rehabilitated to be permitted to register for the studies requiring the use of computer, provided their computer access is strictly regulated and monitored. Offenders who require the use of laptops or computers for their studies will be required to sign an undertaking that they will utilize the equipment for the intended purposes only, and the misuse of such equipment and study material will lead to the immediate deprivation of this privilege and must be reported to the head of the correctional center for consequence management. Lastly, in addition to this, DCS Information Technology Services will be tasked to ensure that offenders do not have access to internet while in their cells by removing connectivity built-in modems. They will only be able to download their study material online as previously arranged, which was during the day, so they can complete their assignments online. Thank you.
The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Machi.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Following the ruling by the Constitutional Court affirming the right of inmates to access study materials and use laptops for educational purposes, what are the relevant access details of the monitoring system that have been implemented to ensure that the specified access is not abused to commit further crimes and or communicate unlawfully with individuals outside the correctional facilities? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. I just elaborated on the certain steps that will be taken. For instance, that the specific inmate who wants to use it, they will be look into the course, and they will also look into the criminal record of that specific student. And as I have just mentioned, that if it happens that the person have a contradiction or any previous conviction when it comes to computer fraud or anything like that, they will not be allowed to do it. So I've mentioned the steps that we will take to ensure that we comply also to the security measures and to prevent that we have the situation where inmates use their cells, have cell phones, and still communicate with criminals outside our facilities to enhance criminality. Thank you.
The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Sokopo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Minister, what mechanisms are in place to ensure that laptops, internet that are made for study purposes are not used to facilitate prison escapes and other things? Noting that a majority of correctional centers still do not provide sufficient skill training to equip re-offenders with the necessary skill to make them competent in the job market, what plan does the department have to provide education and a second chance, especially to juveniles? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Firstly, there are different programs when it comes to learning where inmates can decide whether they want to participate in it. In fact, that at the beginning of this year, we had a very high successful rate in terms of passing of the matric exams. And therefore, the opportunity is there if they want to register. Let me put it quite clearly. Any inmate can register for any course, even any university degree, if he or she wishes to do so. But of course, they will have to bear their own costs for that specific course. And in the light of the finding of the Constitutional Court, we will provide every possibility where they can have the access. But this is specifically, and we have our facilities in the correctional center where they can, for instance, have access for online courses. But of course, there is also control to see whether it is complied to all the strict rules in terms of security. This Constitutional Court finding was more about at night when the inmates are in their cells. And that's why we said that no, and that's also the finding of the Constitutional Court, no modems will be allowed. And of course, there will be inspection and checks to ensure that that will be complied to. So they will have the access for further learning. And in fact, we are actually trying to enhance, and that is part of the rehabilitation process of the inmates. But they will have to comply, as I just previously said, that we cannot allow
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
to use it for other criminality.
Thank you. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Engelbreg.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Chair. Deputy Speaker. Honourable Minister, how does the department prevent the unauthorized addition of modems or other communication devices to these laptops, given the prevalence of contraband in our prisons like cell phones, which can be used to connect laptops to the internet? In other words, what protocols are in place to detect and address any breaches of the stipulated restrictions? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. There are standard operating procedures, and part of that, for instance, is to have regular searches in the cells when people enter our facilities, because that's also referring to contraband. So we have the standard operating procedures. We also have from time to time unannounced raids to see what we can do. I think what people are asking is, what can we do, for instance, for signal jammering, so that there's no signal in our cells? The modern technology does exist to do that, but it is very expensive. We are also busy with an integrated security process on a national level to see how we can find the money and ensure that there is better control. The old jammers is a problem because it's not specific in that specific area of the facility. For instance, if you take the Goodwood facility, if you put the old type of jammers in there, the vehicles on the N1 will also be affected. And if there's an accident, then it will be a problem. So we are looking into that new technology. Thank you.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Trollip.
Thank you, House Chair, Deputy Speaker. Given the recurring scandals in our correctional facilities and the damning Portfolio Committee report tabled yesterday, and especially the continued ability of well-resourced inmates to maintain contact through cell phones and the internet with their criminal networks from behind bars, as you've just confirmed, these breaches point to a systemic failure in existing security protocols. In relation to the recent Concord ruling and proliferation of cell phones in prisons, has the department not given more serious consideration to the introduction of fixed network, web-restricted communication devices, along with managed access systems and mobile detection technologies? as part of a comprehensive strategy to curb the unauthorized use of technology in our prisons. This has, after all, been effectively abused in our National Assembly before, where signal jammers were used. And Honourable Minister, correctional service incarceration is expensive, so it cannot be an excuse to say it's expensive. We heard yesterday how much it costs per
Thank you,
day
Honourable
to
Trollip. Your time has
incarcerate an
expired. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. That's exactly what I said, that in addition, the DCS Information Technology Services will also ensure, and we will be tasked to ensure that offenders do not have access to internet. That actually includes all these other devices to ensure that they comply to that. And Honourable Deputy Speaker, I am the first person to admit and say, yes, it's a huge problem. Our access to our centers is a problem. Sometimes you get officials that just switch off the, the detector. And that's how they get contraband into our facilities. That's why you will see that since I became the minister, there are huge contraband confiscated. For instance, more than 40,000 cell phones, because we actually ensure that there are more, some of these raids taking place to ensure that we get our facilities clean and to prevent further criminality outside the facilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The next question is question number 506, which has been asked by the Honourable Hala to the Minister of Defence and Military Veterans, SANDF. The question is how the South African National Defence Force has expanded outreach and educational opportunities to engage the youth and encourage them to see the SANDF as a rewarding career path and a symbol of unity. I have been informed that the Deputy Minister will be answering questions on behalf of the Minister. The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Honourable Deputy Speaker and honourable members, the South African National Defence Force conducts career awareness among the youth and communities through a range of structured and targeted initiatives aimed at both recruitment and public education about its role and capabilities. The SANDF regularly participates in career expos and school outreach programs, especially during events like the National Youth Month and Armed Forces Day. These engagements involve presentations, question and answer sessions, and distribution of brochures that outline career opportunities in the Army, Air Force, Navy, and military health services. During Armed Forces Day celebrations and various shows like Rand and Bloemfontein shows, the SANDF showcases its capabilities through military parades, equipment display, and live demonstration, for example, simulated rescue and disaster situations. Armed Forces Day also includes career exhibition tents where youth can interact with soldiers and learn about enlistment requirements, military training, and professional development. The Military Skills Development System is one of the SANDF's flagship youth development programs, recruiting young people for voluntary service. SANDF also collaborates with the National Youth Development Agency and other government departments to support youth camps and leadership development programs. The SANDF uses radio, TV, and community newspapers to publicize recruitment drives and career awareness campaigns. The Department of Defense and SANDF's official social media accounts also share videos, testimonials, and recruitment notices to reach a broader, especially young audience. The SANDF attends municipal outreach programs, exhibition shows, and Imbizo forums where they inform communities about opportunities in the Defense Force and its social contribution. Defense recruiters do visit local and provincial exhibitions and shows, including universities and further education training colleges. These efforts are part of a broader mandate to improve civil-military relations, promote patriotism, and ensure that young South Africans from all backgrounds are aware of the SANDF's role and the opportunities it offers. Thank you.
The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Hala.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Honorable Deputy Minister, what percentage of participants in the military skills development system are ultimately absorbed into the South African National Defence Force? And what steps are being taken to improve long-term integration outcomes? Thank you.
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Honorable Member, our policy as a department is 100% intake of military skills development system. Those students, or rather, this means that all participants who meet the required standards are intended to be absorbed in the regular force. The SANDF remains committed to improving the integration and retention of the MSDs in order to address the gaps within the structures which are caused by many reasons.
The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Hatton.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. My appreciation to the Deputy Minister for once again standing in for the Minister. In view of the critical fiscal constraints highlighted by the Minister in the annual performance plan and the strategic need to modernize the SANDF, how does the Minister plan to balance youth recruitment and development initiatives such as the military skills development system with the demand for an increased budget allocation just to be able to sustain military capabilities and readiness? Thank you.
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
We are already engaging the National Treasury with a view to recruit as many young people in order to make sure that the aging Department of Defense is injected with young people. So we will depend, of course, as to whether the National Treasury has got money to assist us. In the same vein, I would like to suggest that in order to get a quality soldiers who are to operate our artillery, air force, as well as get involved in cyber attacks courses and also deal directly with the challenges of AI, where the world today is talking about drones. We may need to engage Department of Education with a view to perhaps to design study guides for mathematics, English, accounting, and science, so that when these students they finish their matric, we can absorb them immediately and send them to every corner of the world to learn more about the technology, which unfortunately we cannot avoid not to implement. Thank you.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Nchingila.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Ubaba Nchingila akekho, on behalf of the MK, Uthulani Kameto zokuzumbuza. In light of the fact that South Africa's youth unemployment rate has skyrocketed to 63.9%, which is the highest in the world, and despite that, the South African National Defence Force military skills development system being promoted as the solution for youth engagement, the program only accommodates a fraction of 3.4 million unemployed youth nationwide. How does the Minister justify the limited reach and impact of the military skills development system impoverish youth from rural areas and township, while budget allocation for South African National Defence Force continue to prioritize administrative costs and high-ranking salaries over meaningful youth skills development. Tata uwolomisa ngathi bungaphinde uboleke nozakwena siphendule ngale ngaphesheya.
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
We have already written to the Department of National Treasure with a view to ask for money to employ or recruit at least 10,000 recruits. So let us hope that when the budget on the 21st is read out, we will be in a position to say, yes, so and Honorable so-and-so was correct or was wrong, or at least we have tried, but otherwise we are on course with that.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Tebekulu.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Mhlekazi, umbuzo wami uzwakala uphuma kancane emgudwini, kodwa engiqonde kukho ukuthi i-South Africa inenselelo enkulu yentsha engenanhlonipho noma ill-disciplined. Umnyango wamasosha bewukwazi ukuthatha intsha uyiqeqeshe under the conscription campaigns ukuthi ikhule inenhlonipho nokuzazi nokuzazisa phakathi kwezakhamuzi ezweni. Ngabe kukhona yini umnyango okwenzayo ukwelekelela naleso simo, kungekhona ukuthi abantu abarecruitwayo kuphela bazoba amasosha, kodwa kube ukuthi kwakhiwa njena isizwe kabusha emva kwalezi zinselelo ezikhona ezweni lethu. Ngiyathokoza kakhulu.
Enkosi,
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Enkosi, Honourable Member, indaba edibene ne-conscription ifuna le house ibe yiyo enothatha eso sigqibo. Whether lo conscription kuzothiwa i-compulsory iqala kwiminyaka 10 iphele phi. Ngeli xesha ingekafiki ke maske siqale napha ezikolweni si-introduce laa nto kokuthiwa yi-cadet system. Sizoqala ke ngokubuilda i-patriotism kwakwi-early stages. Sithi thina singena singamajoni sesiyorecruita sesifikelela kubantu abane-understanding yokokuba okokuqala uyayazi uba iflag yase-South Africa ithetha ukuthini, and xa uxhoma iflag uyixhoma kanjani, and xa ngaba kugqitha ihesi phambi kwakho i-convoy ulijoni okanye ungumntu ufamba uthini. So ezo basics ezo azivezi ikhiwe nje phezulu, but if ningafaka nje nisinike instruction iparliament, then we will be able to basi the-announcement. But leyo position leyo ifuna i-cabinet decision. But wena uba ungaze usubmit a written something, then sizayidiscussa thina, maybe siyifake i-teaser to kwi-cabinet uba yeyi kukho uluvo oluthi uze iphele le nto obundlobongela nongabikho kwe-discipline. Nazi into ekufuneka zenziwe. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Question number 540 has been asked by the Honourable Adams to the Minister of Police. The question is about the status of the investigation into the irregularities in the South African Police Service Crime Intelligence Division and the reasons that no one has been suspended. The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, and thanks for the question. The response to the question is as follows, Deputy Speaker, that ongoing investigations within crime intelligence services cannot be, their status can't be provided because it's an ongoing investigation. And therefore, the issues of what steps to take, those will be determined by the outcome of the investigations. And for now, we will await that process to be concluded. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Adams. Honourable Adams.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I'm covered. Thank you.
We then proceed to the second supplementary question, which will be asked by the Honorable Muela.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Minister, what is the progress on vetting senior officials, and what is the implications of having senior officials operating without security vetting? Thank you very much.
The Honorable Deputy Minister.
That is a separate question altogether, Deputy Speaker. But however, all senior officers are supposed to be vetted. Those that have not yet been vetted will definitely be vetted. Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. We then move on to a third supplementary question that will be asked by the Honorable Mtetwa.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. In light of the March 2025 briefing to the Portfolio Committee on Police, which exposed irregular appointments, unauthorized resource use, and internal resistance to the reform within the Crime Intelligence Division, what actions has the department taken, first, to hold senior managers accountable for obstructing internal reforms, to address misinformation and internal resistance undermining the division's stability, three, remove ghost employees and reverse irregular human resource decisions? Thank you, Chair.
The Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. As I indicated, that issues within crime intelligence that are being investigated, we cannot comment on the status of ongoing investigations. But however, as the investigations get concluded, that will determine the steps that we need to take against those who will have been engaged in wrongdoing. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
And the last supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Ghana.
I know that you are trying not to answer this. Mara labambulavo mashaka. Tinyimpile tingaleka crime intelligence. Tiendla is secret service account. /fund. Loko mi nga lavi ku vula ku ri no vanhu lava va lwela yini a swi khomeki kahle. So hi la mi byela xandla xo holobye ku ri what are you doing as a ministry to stop the infighting within the Crime Intelligence Division that in the main they are about the secret service account or the abuse of the /fund account? We can see
The Deputy Minister.
Nakansa, Deputy Speaker for Xivutiso Tatanaga Nava Banga Xivutisa. Tani leswi ni nga hlamusela ku vulavisisi lebyi nga koho ka xiyenge lexa crime intelligence hi lebyi bya yaku emahlweni a byi si gimetiwa. Siku byi gimetiwako ku ta va na swikoxo leswi nga ta va swi huma or swiboho leswi nga ta va swi humile ka ku va loko ku investigate-wile. Hi swona leswi nga ta kombisa ku hi nga teka what steps can we take to deal with what will have been revealed by the investigations. The challenges within crime intelligence are challenges that we're dealing with, and we are confident that we'll be able to resolve the dynamics that are within the division. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. The next question is question number 532 and has been asked by the Honorable D.D. Klopper to the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development. The question is on the request approximately 3 years ago by the National Director of Public Prosecutions to the President of the Republic to suspend the Director of Public Prosecutions in South Gauteng, Advocate Andrew Chauke, and considering that no action has been taken to date, what efforts she has made to assist the NDPP in this regard. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker, and thank you, Honourable Member. Firstly, let me indicate that not that nothing has been done on the matter. Indeed, the NDPP made the submission through the minister to the president, which necessitated for a request of a full report, which took time in terms of submission. So there are timeframes that we have provided in terms of how the matter has been dealt with. For example, the report between what the president has requested and what has been provided took more than 8 months to the president, and has arrived in the portfolio. Final report was submitted in terms of compliance with what the president has requested, which was submitted to the president at the beginning of this year. And the matter is at advanced stage. As this matter is more of a legal process and also labor matter, I would not want to deal with the details in case it does jeopardize the process. But I can assure the member that the matter has received adequate attention, and the president is at final stages of dealing with it.
The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Klopper.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Minister, it sounds as if the Department of Justice has done very little to nothing to assist the National Prosecuting Authority in ensuring that the President take the necessary steps to suspend Andrew Chauke pending the inquiry. Minister, can you give even one example of where your department will assist the NPA in ensuring that those implicated in state capture are prosecuted successfully and swiftly?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much. I think the Honourable Tropes needs to read the NPA Act to understand the role of the department and that of the minister in prosecutorial matters and how we deal with appointments or in terms of suspension. You seem to have missed the boat there, Honourable Member. The process of appointment or even doing does not have to involve the minister. So almost this minister supports and advises the president. The NDPP submits the reports to the president directly through the minister, but the minister can alter those things. So it's not up to the minister nor the department to decide whether or not to support or to submit reports to the president. I think it should be explained in that manner so that we are all on the same page on the process. The Act in terms of Section 12, subsection 6 of the NPA Act, because it does indicate in terms of the process. The second area you are speaking to, which is a new question, the issue of prosecution of state capture issues. The minister, again, nor the president gets involved in decisions of prosecution. So I shouldn't be seen supporting NPA in those processes. NPA must be able to implement its decisions fairly without fear or favor or prejudice. Thank you very much.
The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Mafagane.
Thank you, Speaker. Deputy Speaker, it's Honourable Abada speaking. Honourable Minister, would you consider spearheading a formal request to the President to suspend the National Director of Public Prosecution, Advocate Botoy, given the glaring pattern of incompetence highlighted in the CDE report? From the bungled extradition of the Guptas and Bushiri to the collapse of the Motoso prosecution and a decade-long Maiwa case still going nowhere, how much more damage must be done before accountability is enforced? Or are we now expected to normalize a fake it till you make it culture at the helm of the NPA? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. I do think that this is a new question, Honourable Speaker. For example, the Honourable Member speaks about the CDE and didn't say a report. I don't know what is the full sentence of that in terms of what it is that he is referring to. And in terms of the process around if there is a process that needs to be done around the NDPP, Honourable Member will help to submit a formal request or a formal complaint, because I do not have any that indicates that the NDPP should be taken through a DC, nor in terms of being evaluated. I think that's my safe response, because I'm not so sure what she's talking about. If it was written with details, Honourable Deputy Speaker, perhaps I would be able to comprehensively respond to the matter.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Member, I then propose that you do write to the Minister with a written question. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Paulson.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Minister, in terms of Section 12(6)(a) of the National Prosecuting Authority Act, the President is required to act on the advice of the Minister. What concrete actions have you taken to support, initiate, or follow through on the NDPP's request? Minister, your continued silence on this matter raises legitimate concerns regarding potential political shielding, particularly given that Section 1794 of the Constitution guarantees prosecutorial independence and the Public Service Act mandates timely disciplinary responses. Why has your department failed to act on such a serious recommendation concerning allegations at one of the highest levels of prosecution? Thank you very much.
The Honourable Minister.
Honorable Paulson, if you did listen to my initial response, is that the matter in terms of what has been submitted was submitted to the President. The President requested more information in terms of the matter, which the NDPP had to compile with NPA and submit to the President. After such being done, the President then undertook a process. As I'm saying, the process is at advanced stage, and therefore the President will make necessary announcements at the time that he deems that the process has been concluded. And I wouldn't want to go into detail of it. I think we should be a little more patient. In terms of influence, in terms of protection, I can assure you, Honorable Member, I have stated publicly that neither would myself nor anyone influence NPA while I am the political head here. And should that information come through, I'm prepared as the minister to take the necessary action, including opening case and requesting for prosecution of such individuals. Thank you.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Sitole.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Honourable Minister, given the potential implications for public confidence in the National Prosecuting Authority, what interim measure have you considered or implemented to safeguard prosecutorial integrity in the Southern provisions pending the decision of the suspension? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
I think Honorable Sitole is already going ahead. We do not know whether the President has decided or not in terms of whether placing the DPP on suspension or not. So we can't get there. We must allow the President to consider the documents that are before him, the reports that he has requested for him to process. And as you note, this is a senior level position in the public prosecution. It's the Deputy Director Prosecution in Gauteng. Yes, in terms of seniority, we've got to ensure that there isn't any interference. And I can assure you that the report I have received from the NDPP is that things have been operating smoothly. There's not been concerns around wrongdoing, nor influence, or even the issue. We do note that the issue of integrity of the office, especially for public prosecution, is important. That's why the matter has to be concluded. And I do agree with members when they raise concerns about the longevity of time that it has taken. And we have to clear both the issue, deal with the matters, to also ensure that the individual himself can be able to operate without a cloud over their head, especially with the responsibility that they have. So we can assure honorable members that this matter will be concluded swiftly and quickly. And where measures are needed, we'll engage with the NDPP as per her responsibility to ensure that there are no gaps. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Question number 509 has been asked by the Honourable Modise Mpaya to the Minister of Home Affairs. The question is about the total number of foreign nationals who were granted permanent residence who are employed by his department and the rare skills that they bring. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. The department's records indicate that Home Affairs has not
Honourable Minister, if you could perhaps just hold for a minute. There is a point of order from the floor. Honourable Member, what is your point?
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. My hand has long been up and you are not seeing it. I just wanted to correct the Minister. She kept on misleading the House. She has a statutory responsibility in terms of Section 33 of the NPA Act to supervise the work of the NPA. She misled the House when she was responding to the question by the DA on the Zondo Commission issues. Thank you very much. She must read Section 33 thoroughly of the NPA Act. Thank you.
Honourable Member, Honourable Dlakude.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. There are processes to be followed if a member is not satisfied with the responses of any minister. Thank you very much. Who
Thank you,
suggest
Honourable.
that the member follow those processes. Thanks.
Thank you, Honourable Dlakude. Honourable members, I'm not going to have a to and fro now about this particular point. I will rule on it now. I will just give the Honourable Trollop an opportunity. His hand was raised.
Thanks. Deputy Speaker, when you make a ruling, can you just please tell us whether approximately 3 years in the making or dealing with the matter is dealing with it swiftly? Because that's what the minister said. We're dealing with it swiftly. Is 3 years swift?
Honourable Trollop, that is a matter for your own perception of the matter and a matter of debate and argument. Honourable members, in terms of a point of order, it is indeed so that when you raise a point of order, it must be done whilst the speaker is on the floor. My apologies, I apparently did not see you. Please give me, Honourable member, would you mind giving me allow me to finish? I was busy saying, but your hand was up and I didn't see it. Honourable member, that is exactly what I'm saying now. So please don't preempt what I am going to say. And Honourable Dlakude is quite correct in the sense that if you are not happy with an answer or if you think that the minister is not correct, there is a process. Please write to the minister. You may also write to the speaker to object to the minister's reply. We will now proceed with the next question. Honourable Minister, please proceed.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. In response to this question, the department's records indicate that Home Affairs has not offered any position to a permanent residence holder or to what the honourable member refers to as a rare skills visa holder. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Modise Mpaya.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Minister, given that Home Affairs is critical to national security, can you indicate if there are members, such members, if they are vetted, and whether or not do they form part of the cohort that has been named by the counter-corruption at Home Affairs dealing with illicit conduct of members in the department? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker and Honourable Member. Yes, vetting takes place. It is one of the targets that is contained in the annual performance plan as a matter of course, and that is, of course, conducted in partnership and through entities like the State Security Agency. Given my original answer, Deputy Speaker, that there are no such permanent residence holders or other people referred to in the original question that have been offered these positions, I do think the second part falls away because there are no one. Thank you.
The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Ruiz.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Minister, you announced on Sunday that permanent residents and others finally are now able to apply for smart IDs. In light of Home Affairs' broader digital transformation objectives, including increased data security and verification standards, what will be the risks and benefits of introducing smart ID cards for South African citizens born abroad, naturalized citizens, and permanent residents?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. It's a bit difficult. I think that this question is somewhat exhausted, so this one is quite new. But what I can say is, yes, in terms of the security aspect of the question, this is a major step forward for national security because it enables people to replace their green ID book with the more secure smart ID. The green ID book is a source of fraud and insecurity for our country. And so enabling the technological reforms that have now enabled these categories of people to replace their vulnerable green ID book with the more secure smart ID is indeed a very important step forward for our national security. And I would just use the opportunity to indicate that the first phase of the rollout is focused on those from visa-exempt countries and who already have the green ID. So as everyone in this chamber hopefully knows, because I hope all members have already transitioned to the Smart ID and are no longer carrying the green ID book, you will know that the Smart ID involves biometric verification, including fingerprints and facial recognition, that is absent from the green ID book, and therefore is a major contribution to the security concerns that have been raised. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Sali.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Honourable Minister, can your department verify and advise on the number of foreign nationals from Israel applying for residence and work permits in South Africa and the status thereof? I thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I think the honourable member is most welcome to submit that as a written question, and we can peruse the relevant records to indicate. Thank you.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Ngobeni.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I've heard the response from the Minister, and the Minister is guaranteeing us that there has not been a single permit that has been used in this way. But I want him to just give us assurance that no permit has been granted for a position that a qualified South African could have filled. Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Well, Deputy Speaker, since the question relates to whether permanent residence holders or so-called rare skill visa holders are employed in the Department of Home Affairs, let me repeat that the records indicate no such thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. We now move on to question number 483 that has been asked by the Honourable Muhammad to the Minister of Home Affairs. The question is about the intended budget allocation of his department for deportations in the 2025-26 financial year and what he has found to have been the impact on his department's current ability to execute deportations due to National Treasury's non-approval of his departmental budget. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Obviously, subject to the ongoing budget process, allow me to indicate that the intended budget allocation for the 2025-26 financial year is 23,262,000 as it relates to the matter of deportations. And this compares to the amount from the previous financial year, which was 21,320,000. So an increase there of just over 2 million. Let me also indicate, Deputy Speaker, that deportations continue with available funding while the process around the budget is dealt with. The deportees with financial means also engage in what we call self-deportation in certain cases. And I think important to just indicate that the number of deportations annually has increased from 14,589 in 2020, as well as 39,672 in 2023, to 46,898 in the previous financial year. This is an 18% increase year on year, and it does mean that South Africa now does more deportations than countries like France and Germany combined. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Muhammad.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. I will be asking the questions for Ms. MB Mohammed and I'm
Please proceed, Honourable Member.
Minister, in light of the escalating illegal immigration crisis in South Africa, which has placed immense pressure on local communities, social services and law enforcement, how does the Minister justify the inadequate budget allocation for deportation in the 2025-26 financial year, particularly when the Department of Home Affairs reported a backlog of over 34,000 undocumented immigrants awaiting deportation in 2024 alone? Furthermore, can the Minister provide specific details of cost-saving strategies, international partnership, or resource allocations that have been pursued to meet deportation targets, especially in high-risk areas like Gauteng and the Western Cape, which have seen significant rises in undocumented migrant populations? If not, or why not? If so, what specific timelines and targets have been established to clear the current backlog and address the bottlenecks in executing lawful deportations?
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. Let me just start by indicating that the numbers that are quoted there are certainly not in any way similar to what the numbers of deportees being held currently at the Landela facility. Nonetheless, I think that the numbers speak for themselves that I just indicated. There has been a dramatic increase in the number of deportations that are taking place, and that was recently confirmed when we saw the numbers from the previous financial year, over 46,000. This is down to some extent to the fact that the Department of Home Affairs now has its own buses that are purpose-built for this purpose so that we can speed up the process of transferring people involved in that. It also relates to the intensification of some of the cross-departmental campaigns. When you look at the performance, the number of these inspections that have been done over the past few years, there's also a meaningful increase in the last year. And these factors are combining to really indicate that we are ramping up our ability to effect deportations. Of course, deportations are subject to court orders. So that is another important aspect of the process that needs to be completed. But I think, Chair, one of the important things we need to indicate is that it's not a one size fits all. We need to, of course, continue our work in the border environment to make sure that it is harder for people to come into South Africa in the first place. And that's where the investments in technology, including the drones that have been recently deployed by the Border Management Authority, have led to dramatic increases in our ability to prevent people from coming into the country in the first place. And then finally, I think deportation, more effective border management, as well as the digital reforms we spoke about earlier, enabling us to detect people who are in the country illegally. Those are really three core pillars of the work that we are doing and the progress that is being made in this space, notwithstanding the fact, of course, that there's still a lot to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Mtolo.
Thank you, House Chair. Honourable Minister, given the impact of the deportation on our fiscus, whether they are engagement which the countries of origin of the illegal migrant to take responsibility of the deportation of their citizens. Thank you, Chair.
Honourable Minister.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. That is an important question. The so-called returns agreements are important instruments because they give the country of origin a stake in preventing illegal border crossings. So in other words, if a country is going to have to share in the burden of the costs involved in deportations, they have an incentive from their side to also do more in this space, even as South Africa does more from our side. So indeed, there are some agreements that have been concluded where this is in effect. I think Ghana being a recent example. So that is a principle indeed that we are looking to establish and really embed, because I think it is in everyone's interest. Let me just also say that when we talk about the impact of deportations on the fiscus, I do want to make the point that the impact on our country of not doing deportations would be much, much greater than the figures I quoted to you earlier on. If there are members in this House who are suggesting that we should stop deportations because it is costing some money, then I think just think about what the implications will be for our country's national security if such a message is sent into the world. And therefore, we will continue as Home Affairs to fulfill our mandate and uphold the rule of law. If someone breaks the law, then we have to act on that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable van Staden.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Minister, if a department do not have a necessary budget allocation for the deportations, can the Minister indicate to this House the plans that his department have communicated with National Treasury in order to get more funds to address this problem and the budget allocation needed to successfully deport illegal foreigners from South Africa? Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. And indeed, this is obviously part of a fluid process where the budget continues to be designed as we speak. And so these are discussions that Home Affairs has participated in, including requests made to the CARA fund and looking at all kinds of ways in which we can bolster this capacity. But I think it's important to indicate to members again that if we can automate and really use digital transformation to our advantage in some of these spaces, we are going to free up more resources. So one important example of this is our goal, as included in the medium-term development plan, to automate entry and exit at the airports, land ports, and seaports. We have a clear target there for midterm that we want to have automated entry and exit at the airports at that point. And this essentially means that there are cameras and potentially the e-gates that are then linked to the electronic travel authorization system that we are building to automate the visa process. That will not only improve the efficiency and security of border management, because as I've said before, you cannot bribe a computer, you cannot bribe the camera. Either your face matches or it doesn't. But it will also assist us greatly to then free up human resources and capacity, and over time definitely save us money, which can then be redirected toward things like deportation, which is obviously a more human resource intensive exercise. So it's all about internal reprioritization that we also must undertake, and we can't only push on National Treasury. I think it's up to departments themselves to use technology as an enabler to free up resources. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Ngubeni, you have the opportunity to ask the last supplementary question.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Minister, for your responses. Minister, it is clear from horrific incidents like the recent discoveries in Parkmore and Lombardy East, where undocumented foreign nationals escaped alleged captivity, that we are dealing with highly organized criminal syndicates engaged in human trafficking and exploitation. Can you tell us, Minister, are we making any real progress in dismantling these networks and going after the kingpins behind them? Or are we simply chasing foot soldiers while the masterminds remain untouched, protected by systemic corruption, weak enforcement, and budgetary complexities? And also, can you give us the status of the deportation of Timothy Omotoso? Where are we on that? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. Let me indicate, of course, there was a court ruling recently related to the case of Omotoso. And so the court had some procedural issues that it identified and that we are currently looking at from the Home Affairs perspective. But there also are indications from the National Prosecuting Authority around their intention to appeal. So I think this is one of those cases where close coordination will be required. But I think secondly, yes, the honourable member is absolutely correct to indicate the importance of people who lead these kind of trafficking operations and smuggling syndicates. And that's why the focus recently at the borderline has certainly shifted towards dealing with what we call facilitators. So over the recent Easter period, the Border Management Authority, working closely with intelligence and other structures in the security cluster, were able to actually clamp down and identify and arrest those facilitators, because it is when you get to the people who are actually smuggling victims or indeed illegal immigrants across the borderline that you make a bigger impact than just dealing with the individual cases. So yes, indeed, there has been meaningful progress in that space, but I do certainly believe that we need much more work also from an intelligence perspective that goes well beyond the capacity or mandate of Home Affairs to really deal with this issue in our society, to really have an intelligence-led focus on dealing with these syndicates. We're seeing some progress on this in the border environment through the Border Management Authority, working with other stakeholders, but I do think there's certainly much more work to be done here. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honourable members, question number 465 has been asked by the Honourable Matthys to the Minister of Police. The question is, considering the circumstances that led to the death and recovery of the bodies of Constables Boipelo Senoge, Linda Sebekolu and Kilgamotswe Buys, who went missing while traveling from Bloemfontein to Limpopo on a Vala Umgodi operation assignment. What the nature of the assignment was, given that the fallen constables involved in, and in which areas were they assigned to deal with illegal miners? The Honourable the Minister, Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thanks for the question by Honorable Matthys. The nature of the assignment given to the fallen constables, and may their souls continue to rest in eternal peace, was related to intelligence gathering in areas affected by illegal mining. Constable Linda Kebekulu and Kiamoretsu Base from the Free State Crime Intelligence were deployed in Limpopo, specifically in the Waterberg District and Capricorn District, to gather intelligence on illegal mining activities in support of Operation Valumgodi. Constable Kebekulu and Base were officially deployed to address illegal mining operations within the Waterberg and Capricorn districts of the Limpopo province. At the time of their disappearance, both members were returning to their respective deployment areas following authorized rest leave and were traveling in a private-owned vehicle. Constable Wipilo Sinore was attached to Park Road Police Station in Mangaung. She was also traveling to Limpopo during her rest period and was a passenger in the same vehicle as Constable Kebekulu and Constable Base. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Honourable members, we've been informed that Honourable Ntlangwini will take charge of the question in terms of the rules. Honourable Ntlangwini.
Thank you, Minister. In light of the suspicious and tragic death of the 3 sub-officers deployed under Operation Valumgodi, who were reportedly involved in investigating illegal mining, can you confirm who was the person responsible for their deployment? Were the person properly vetted? Whether the individuals prior to their deployment, were they questioned as well, these ones that knows about the individuals where they were deployed? And furthermore, Minister, were these sub-officials in possession with them with dockets? Was there dockets in that vehicle of the political connected individuals? And did the subs close this matter? And do you have the tracking company's details of the vehicle that they were tracking in? And each and every device, at which stage can we locate each and every device of these 3 sub-officials? We say to the family, may their souls rest in peace, and those that have murdered them, may they see the gates of hell and justice. I thank you.
Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thanks for the follow-up question. I can confirm that yes, the officers were involved in an accident at the Henops Bridge River. The investigation around the vehicle has not been concluded. They are further, they are ongoing. And as far as we are concerned up to now, it is an accident. If there is any other matter associated with their death, I think the further investigations will bring that to light, but it is an accident as we speak. If you recall the day that this happened, it was raining, and we are convinced that indeed that played a role in that regard. Thank you, Chairperson.
The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Cameron.
Thank you, Chair. Deputy Minister, given the increasing deployment of SAPS members to high-risk illegal mining operations under initiatives like Vala Umgodi, what formal national policy or standard operating procedures govern the officers' safety? command oversight and rapid response in these deployments? And will the Minister table this policy for Parliament to scrutinize? Thank you.
Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks for the follow-up question. Yes, the operations Valam Godi are handled from national office, and the National Commissioner is generally responsible for the overall command, and all necessary steps are taken to ensure that those who are involved in these operations, their safety is taken as a priority measure. Any other further information that is needed can be made available, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you. The third opportunity is that of the Honourable Kabekulu.
Thank you, as Chairperson. A few days back, or a few days ago, we've lost 3 constables with regards to or linked to this Operation Valam Koti issue. But what I'm coming in with, Chair, is that in view of the incident that has happened after that of the police, where in Mpumalanga province, we've lost an activist who was organizing the communities to sort of work with the police in order to expose these illegal mining activities in the province, who has lost his life. He was shot and killed as an activist or fighting against this illegal mining. What is your department doing in order to assist the families of the deceased who died, trying to assist the police force in exposing these illegal mining activities? Thank you.
Thank you. Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thanks for the follow-up question. I think with regard to, excuse me, the specifics of the case that the honourable member is raising, I can't give details because I don't have. But we are concerned about the safety of everybody, including community members who give us information related to any criminal activity. Thanks very much, Chair.
Thank you. Honourable Nontenja, you have the opportunity to ask the last supplementary question.
Thank you, Honourable House Chair. Honourable Minister, many South African police services officers have been dying in this country due to a combination of factors such as accidents, assaults, and shootouts. As a result, between January and March 2025, more than 20 police officers were killed whilst off and on duty. Given the danger of police work, has the department considered to advance and innovate more police safety tools and strategies to protect the men and women in blue? Why is the rollout of body-worn cameras that you promised have been so slow? Don't you think those body-worn cameras could have come in handy to expedite the current investigation of the deceased constables?
Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks for the question. The issue of the safety of police officers is a priority for SAPS, and that's why in their training programs, the issue of survival and how to deal with situations that can arise in the course of their work, because SAPS, you'll agree with me, the work that they do, it's a work that involves a lot of risks. Officers leave their homes to go to work expecting to come back, but at the same time, it's possible that they might not return to back home safely. So because of this, extensive training is done to them so that at all material times, they are able to respond to situations that might arise without being fully warned about it in order to deal with that. The issue of equipment that they use, or they are supposed to use like body-worn cameras. We have taken a decision that this must be implemented, and of course there have been delays, but these are delays that we are dealing with as the leadership of the institution. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Honourable members, question number 512 has been asked by the Honourable Klute to the Minister of Police. The question is about the critical interventions made following the policing summit held in April under the theme Efficiency in Action, Optimizing South Africa's Policing Potential that will ensure efficiency in dealing with crime and building safer communities. Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks for the question. A preliminary analysis of the considerable volume of information that was generated at the National Policing Summit conducted from 9 to 11 April 2025 has been undertaken. However, it should please be noted that the detailed analysis and cross-referencing of information is still in process and is scheduled to be completed by the 31st of May 2025. This detailed analysis and cross-referencing will enable the unpacking of high-level challenges and mitigation measures and the identification of specific challenges and equally specific measures to address these challenges, which may involve the utilization of SAP's resources and expertise or that of organizations external to SAPS through engagement and partnership. The South African Police Service has identified the following broad categories of key challenges and the approaches that will be used in formulating specific and direct mitigation measures and/or responses to these challenges, which will be implemented over the short and medium-term process. One, the strategic challenge which has been identified, which affect the performance of the department and its ability to effectively address the objects of policing as per Section 205 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, 1996, which will be addressed predominantly over the medium term, inter alia by means of the following approaches, which then are outlined as leadership accountability, investment in improving of the morale of SAPS members, intergovernmental collaboration, spatial and environmental design, police station structure reconfiguration, resources to budget and the demand alignment, integrated planning mechanisms. These are the other challenges on policing challenges, particularly in respect of the SAPS adaptability and responsiveness to crime threats and its visibility by strengthening inter alia visible policing, crime investigation, and improving general police capacity. The third one is community and stakeholder involvement, which will relate to collaborative efforts to strengthening the community policing model through the following measures, including inter alia, the identification of specific areas of policing, encouraging increased involvement of reservists, youth, spiritual leaders, and neighborhood watch, community policing forum, and community safety patrols. Policing performance management related challenges is one of the fourth areas that has been addressed, which will be addressed by inter alia, adopting a more integrated approach to planning, monitoring, and evaluation. The coordination of the assurances efforts of various assurance providers, including oversight bodies such as Parliament. The enhancing of partnership with identified external organizations, the focus on the value that is derived from police operations and deployments, particularly from community-based perspective. The modernization challenges which will be addressed by inter alia, digitalization, enhancing data and predictive analytics, and modernizing of and digitize the SAPS operational and support related processes.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Unfortunately, the time has run out.
Thank you.
Honourable Klute, you may ask the first question.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. From the policing summit, what are the new interventions and strategies that will deal with gender-based violence and farm murders? Thank you.
Honorable Deputy Minister.
As I indicated, collaboration with other stakeholders will assist us in dealing with gender-based violence and farm matters. In this regard, the strengthening of our rural policing strategy will assist us greatly in collaboration with organized labor, organized farmers through their infrastructure for their cameras that they have and the facilities that they've established to protect their own farms. As we integrate the two, what they do and what we will be doing, it will be easy for us to improve our policing in the rural communities. Gender-based violence, we will be able to defeat this as we work with communities at large, but also reorientation of the South African community for them to understand that women must be treated with respect because how we are socialized play a great role in how we relate with people at an older age. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Manye.
Oh, thank you, Chair. No, just to congratulate the Deputy Minister for preempting the question so well that she's reading
Honorable
off the
Manye.
printed answer.
That's not a point of order. Let's say you abuse the platform for a point of intervention. The second opportunity is that of the Honorable Schikkerling.
Thank you so much, House Chair. I agree with Honorable Manye. Good afternoon, Deputy Minister. Deputy Minister, while the policing summit did outline several key interventions to improve policing efficiency, what targeted strategies are being implemented to address not only GBV specifically, but violence against children in our country, which is massively prevalent at the moment, and there was an apparent lack of focus on this issue during the summit. Thank you very much.
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Chair, if she may repeat that part, I didn't get it well. I'm sorry, Honorable Schikkerling.
Honorable Schikkerling, the substantive part may be just the area that didn't receive attention.
No problem. Thank you, Minister, Deputy Minister. The summit did highlight a lot of issues in the SAPS and how we're going to improve policing efficiency. But there's an apparent lack of the implementation didn't address gender-based violence, which, as Honorable Manye said, but specifically violence against children, which is very prevalent in our country at this stage. How are you going to address this? Thank you, Minister.
Deputy Minister.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. Thanks for that question. Yes, the issue of violence against children is a concern, but that is it's a reflection of us as a society, that the manner in which violence has become so dominant in society, it needs the entirety of society for us to relook at how we interface and relate with each other. And of course, this violence is not a phenomenon that that just came from nowhere because of the democratic dispensation. We have got a past history. The history of colonialism, the history of apartheid was a history of violence. And this violence has come to grip society as a whole. People believe that to resolve whatever challenge or any difference that they have amongst themselves, they must respond in a violent manner. And particularly the people who become victims are vulnerable, and children in particular. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. I now recognize the Honorable Taibosh for the third follow-up question.
Thank you, House Chair. Honorable Deputy Minister, interventions on paper really has no significance unless you implement them. How and how soon do you intend to filter down these key interventions to the ground where policemen and women on their daily beat have to dodge flying bullets?
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Yes, indeed, we have observed that the issue of violent crime in the country, SAPS alone will not be able to succeed in this. That's why we then evolved an integrated violent crime prevention strategy, which was then adopted by the National Cabinet. And currently, we are involved in a process through the Civilian Secretariat for Police Service, together with SAPS management, to unfold this policy in provinces, in district and local municipalities, and ultimately to be done at a ward level, because crime takes place at a ward level. And if you don't engage communities in this regard, you will not win this fight. And we are confident, given the progress that we have made in the unfolding of this strategy, that we will ultimately be able to reach every ward in the country and ensure that our people are part of this process of the fight against violent crime within our communities. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Ghana. You may ask the last question.
So one of the things that you wanted to achieve is around how to reduce violent crime. But there's a problem in terms of the detection rate, especially for murder. Vanhu lava dlayaku kumbe case ta vanhu lava dlayiwaku ti teka nkarhi wo leha ku ri ti investigatiwa ti kota ku yisiwa court. And you've said around the issue of morale. I wanted to check, Deputy Minister, at the moment, whilst waiting for the analysis of the summit, what is being done to improve the morale of the detectives and the detective service so that the murders that are happening can be solved quickly? Thanks very much.
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thanks for the question. Before the summit, we have had a workshop on focusing specifically on the wellness of police officers. And we got professional bodies that assisted us in that regard, because we are of the firm view that the well-being of our officers is very important. If our officers are not mentally in a good space, they will not be able to perform to their full potential. And we believe that workshop has gone a long way in contributing towards the orientation of our officers. But we are also aware that the workshop on its own is not going to solve the problem that you have mentioned of dockets that take time to be concluded and investigations that don't get concluded as a result of the shortage within the detectives. Because one thing that is a reality is that as far as the detectives are concerned, and policing in general, we have not been doing recruitment for quite some time as a country. For the past 3 years, we were lucky, General Mesa, that the President and Minister of Finance did allow us to recruit 10,000 police officers, which gave us 30,000 police officers over a period of 3 years, which was the first of its kind. And this number was intended to capacitate the numbers that we have. And out of these numbers, we have allocated 4,000 who must go into the detective division. We are aware that this number is not going to resolve the problems that is there. You find officers who have over 300 docket as one officer. So you can't expect one detective to be able to carry such a workload of dockets. And we are—
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Your time has now expired.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Honourable members, question number 522 has been asked by the Honourable Hatting to the Minister of Defence and Military Veterans. The question is about the total expenditure costs associated with Operation Tusano and Program Gala, which have allegedly exceeded 3 billion rand, and what measurable strategic, operational, and or socio-economic benefits the Republic derived from the specified programs, especially given the concerns raised regarding the lack of skills transfer to the South African National Defence Force personnel and the escalating unemployment, including in the arms industry of the Republic. The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Chairperson, the total to date for Project Tusano up to the 2024-25 financial year amounts to 3,40,777,922 rands. Rand. The project demonstrates a significant cost savings when compared to the local industry. Regarding measurable strategic, operational and or socio-economic benefits, it must be noted that before Project Tusano, the serviceability of our prime mission equipment was at its lowest. The service providers, that is local industry, was charging exorbitant fees and were not doing what was expected of them to repair and maintain our vehicles. Instead, there were a lot of returns of vehicles after they were repaired by the local industry. Thus, this caused our prime mission equipment to be beyond economic repair and had to be placed for disposal as per our policy. Meanwhile, there were no prospects of replacement due to budget cuts. Project Tusano resuscitated our equipment to the extent that the SANDF is in a state where it can deploy its landward forces and be ready to fulfill its mandate whenever called upon to serve. The project has resuscitated our technical service corps and trained a lot of members in Cuba, a total of 444 members trained and 649 members through skills transfer who are now deployed in various technical centers across our country. The SA Army has seconded 41 technicians to DINEL to further in-service training and collaboration. In terms of the strategic benefits of collaboration and the project, the members trained and the skills acquired through the programs will tremendously benefit our country and the SANDF in future. The seed planted through the program cannot be quantified now, but will only manifest in future as the SANDF reaches its vision of self-sustainability through its capacity development project. The intent of the SANDF is to further collaborate with the local industry, different universities and TVET colleges in the capacity building, not only of our members, but the youth at large, to venture into engineering and technical disciplines. That will help our country to train and develop our youth. Thank you.
Honourable Hartung.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I'm not sure whether the Deputy Minister believes everything that he has said, but I'll leave it there. Honourable Deputy Speaker, in light of the ongoing concerns regarding the lack of skills transfer from the Cuban projects, that's Tucson and Gala, how does the department plan to address these deficiencies, particularly with regard to the impact on the local defence industry? They are very able and capable, but they are neglected. And also, in the South African workforce, we've seen new devastating unemployment figures yesterday. Furthermore, what measures are being taken to ensure that future defence partnerships align more closely with the development of local skills and the reduction of unemployment, particularly in the armed industry and related sectors? I thank you.
Honourable Deputy Minister.
Right now, the Department of Defense, in consultation with the local institutions, the aim is to make sure that we move away from the accusations that the people who were trained in Cuba cannot be accredited in our local institutions. So that engagement is continuing, and we have already had agreements that at least their 5-year or their last year in their trainings should be completed in South Africa. So as far as you say what I said, I don't understand. Well, if you think that you are a wise person, then you can tell me what should I do. Thank you.
No, Honorable Hatting, we will move on from you. The second supplementary question is that of the Honorable Sokanyile.
Thank you, House Chair. Honorable Deputy Minister, what specific lessons have been learned from Operation Tusano? And how does the department plan to incorporate these insights to ensure more effective and sustainable outcomes going forward? Thank you.
Honorable Deputy Minister.
I think, Honorable Member, I've already answered your question when I said there were concerns here in South Africa that the quality of training received by SANDF members is questionable, and some of these courses are not accredited to our institutions. Hence, we took a decision to engage the local institutions. And I'm satisfied that even the recent trip by the Cuban ministers to South Africa, we emphasized that there is no way that we cannot collaborate with our local institutions. So if you talk about the doctors, you talk about engineers, they have to partner with a local institution to make sure that we produce a quality product at the end of the day.
The third supplementary question will be asked by Nkosi Kebekulu.
Thank you, House Chair, once more, Honorable Minister. What percentage of this 3 billion rand expenditure has been allocated directly to South African service providers, military personnel training, and local industry development, and as opposed to payments made to foreign governments or contractors? Thank you.
Honorable Deputy Minister.
To be fair to you, Honorable Member, I would appreciate if you can forward that question so that I can give you full details and breakdown of how much is benefiting local industry and how much is going outside the country. If I start answering you now, I will be misleading this House.
Thank you. The last opportunity is that of the Honorable Van Wyk.
Thank you very much, House Chair. It's Honorable Matopaya. I will be taking the question on his behalf.
Please proceed.
Given the concerns about the lack of skills transferred to SANDF personnel under Operation Tusano Program Kala, and considering the escalating unemployment in South Africa's arms industry, why has the Department of Defense not actively incorporated qualified military veterans, particularly those who served in the South African Cape Corps, SA Kaka, and possesses the necessary technical expertise into the program to enhance skills development, reduce costs, and address veteran unemployment? Furthermore, what measures will be taken to ensure that such veterans are utilized effectively to bridge the skills gap, rather than relying excessively on foreign contractors, thereby retaining critical defense knowledge within the SANDF? Thank you.
Honorable Deputy Minister.
I take your input as an advice which we must follow. And I can assure you that I will report this to the Honorable Minister and the commanders with a view to fulfill your suggestion. But those military veterans, we will have to screen them as well as to whether they qualify as engineers. So, but we must take your positive contribution very well. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Honourable members, question number 515 has been asked by the Honourable Ramolobeng to the Minister of Correctional Services. The question is, given that correctional facilities are overcrowded and a sizable number of these inmates are remand detainees who are in contravention of the Immigration Act, Act 13 of 2002, whether the Minister is considering bilateral engagements with the South African development community countries to deport foreign nationals offenders to alleviate overcrowding in correctional facilities. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Firstly, I want to say that there are a total of 12,037 remand detainees who are foreign nationals incarcerated for the contravention of the Immigration Act. And I have a breakdown here per region, but which I will submit. Currently, there are no bilateral agreements with neighboring countries due to the fact that South Africa does not have an enabling domestic legislation to regulate and facilitate the transfer of sentenced foreign offenders, that including South Africans incarcerated in foreign countries, to serve their sentences in the countries of origin. It should be borne in mind that the implementation of the Immigration Act in relation to deportation of those who are not entitled to stay in the country falls within the scope of the Department of Home Affairs and not Correctional Services. The Department of Correctional Services is responsible for identifying foreign nationals in its detention facilities and reporting such individuals to the Department of Home Affairs. The Department of Home Affairs then establishes the nationality of such offenders and initiates the deportation of those whose stay in the Republic of South Africa is illegal. Thank you.
Thank you. Honourable Ramolobeng, it's your opportunity to ask the first follow-up.
Chair, I'll stand in for her.
Please proceed, Honourable Member.
Thank you. Minister, considering what you have just responded, just a follow-up to check, did you attempt to engage your fellow executive members that are in the security cluster to see, can't you have, before you even go to SADC, can't you have in the country a way of dealing with focusing on legislation and other things to enable us to minimize this issue of overcrowding? Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. The good news, Honourable Member, is yes, and there is quite a lot of progress. We already started last year. At present, at the JCPS cluster, which involves the Department of Justice, the police, and Home Affairs, although not part of the JCPS, that there is a process to amend the Criminal Procedure Act. And part of that will also be to amend the legislation in such a way that we have legislation that will make it possible to deportation of these illegals back to their countries of their foreign countries of origin. Thank you.
Thank you. The second supplementary question may be asked by the Honourable Diale.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Minister, given the complexities involved in securing agreements with the Southern African Development Communities, SADC member states, and other foreign countries to repatriate their sentenced nationals to serve their sentences in their countries of origin, what additional measures is the department undertaking to address and alleviate overcrowding across South Africa's correctional services? Thank you.
Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. As I've mentioned, no, we are in have no agreement with SADC countries. What is important is that we must understand that at present, that DCS is responsible for detention of all arrested persons, including foreign nationals, according to the warrants of detention issued by courts. Now, a couple of weeks ago, the Honorable President visited our neighboring country of Lesotho. The National Commissioner of Correctional Services attended there, and we are in a process already engaging. There is a willingness from Lesotho to see where we then can exchange and deport our, can I say, from our side, their foreign citizens, and from their side back to South Africa of South African citizens. There's also been a conference in Namibia, and the same situation occurs there. So the good news is that we are in a process, and I would like to see that we take all steps possible to enhance that. But again, it is important to note that both countries who are involved and South Africa must have enabling legislation to do so. And at this stage, we lack that legislation, and that's why I said we're in the process to see how we can amend legislation. Thank you.
Honorable Matopa, you're recognized to ask a third supplementary question.
Thank you very much, House Chair. On behalf of Marlon Daniels, Honorable Minister, with the strain on correctional facilities due to overcrowding, particularly with the large proportion of remand detainees who are foreign nationals in contravention of the Immigration Act number 13 of 2002, may I ask, given the urgency of alleviating overcrowding, what short-term measures is the department considering to address this issue while diplomatic engagements are underway? I thank you, House Chair.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Unfortunately, I must say to the Honorable Member that there are no quick fixes. You have other departments involved in this whole process, the Department of International Relations. You also have, for instance, the Department of Home Affairs, the Department of Justice. And I said we already embarked last year on a process so that we can sort of communicate to see how we can address. The real problem with overcrowding is as follows, to just give a perspective. At present, we have about 108,000 beds in our facilities. The sentenced inmates in our correctional services are about 104,000 members or inmates. So there are enough beds for the sentenced inmates in our facilities. Our problem comes with the remand detainees, not only the foreign remand detainees, but all remand detainees. And then we talk about almost 61,000 remand detainees. We have, Honorable Chair, people that are waiting still more than 10 years, and they still did not have the opportunity to finalize the whole justice process in terms of the fact that they have to appear in court. So we do have conversations with the Department of Justice. We are looking at the matter. And of course, the solution will be that we also have remand detainees who couldn't afford a bail of around about 100 rand. There are about 1,227 who couldn't afford a bail of less than 1,000 rand. We also see how we can solve that problem. There are processes in progress.
Thank you, Minister. The last supplementary question is to be asked by the Honorable Khubisa Nkaba.
Thank you. Minister, things in your department are always moving, never arriving. It's always in progress. It's never concluded. Yesterday, you took us through the parole review process that's been going since 2015. Is this another issue that's going to be perpetually going, but not sure where? Now that you say you've discussed this in your cluster, are there timelines? The legislation that you need, when will it be tabled? Do you have firm timelines you can guarantee us that we will see action, or will the conclusion of this also be in the 9th administration?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I also said yesterday in the Portfolio Committee that I also have the question why since 2015 we're talking about 10 years and we couldn't come to a final conclusion on the revising of our parole system. And I said, in a lighter note, I don't hope that it will take another 10 years. And I said, I would like to see that in the next 2 years that we finalize this matter. And I said to the honorable member who've asked the question, I cannot commit to say at that specific time because you have other departments who are also involved, like the Department of Justice, who have their own, can I say, matters to attend to. So yes, in the end, at the JCPS cluster, there are not solid cut-off dates in terms of the time frames. I wish I could have had that, but unfortunately, to give an honest answer at this moment, we don't have it. But in the end, and I also said on the revised parole system, that at the next meeting, I hope as far as that is concerned, that I will give a time frame, but it will not have a final, can I say, committed. And if I say committed, meaning if we go over that, then heads must roll. We must try to ensure that we speed up the process to solve the problem as quick as possible. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, the time allocated for questions to this cluster today has now expired. We will now take the questions that were transferred for oral reply. Question number 544 has been asked by the Honorable Hatting to the Minister of Defence and Military Veterans. The question is whether, in light of the Joint Standing Committee on Defence convening in December 2024, wherein the President of the Republic, Mr. Ramaphosa, informed the Speaker and the National Council of Provinces chairperson that he had extended the deployment of the South African National Defence Force to the Democratic Republic of the Congo, she advised the President with regard to his specified decision. The Honourable Deputy Minister.
To provide a comprehensive and accurate response to this parliamentary question, it would be appreciated if the Department of Defense could be furnished with more details with regards to the said employees. Specifically, kindly provide the following: the name and the intent in question. No. I don't think.
Honourable Deputy Minister, I don't know whether you're answering the question I referred to. Maybe just consult your file a bit further.
No. What question number?
It's question number 544 about the further extension to the deployment of our forces to the Republic of the Congo, and whether the minister advised the president.
My apologies, Mr. Hatting and your team. In accordance with the constitutional and legislative framework governing the employment of the SANDF, particularly Section 201 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, the minister, as the political head of the department, provides strategic guidance and advise the president, who is the commander-in-chief of the SANDF, on all matters related to defense deployments. The advice to extend the deployment was informed by several key considerations, including the continuing regional security obligations under the Southern African Development Mandate, the situation on the ground in the Eastern DRC, and the need to contribute to regional peace and stability. The advice was also aligned with assessment received from the Defense Force and relevant stakeholders on the basis of SADC pledges and deliberations. Following this process and in compliance with the law, the President communicated the extension of the deployment to the Speaker of the National Assembly and the Chairperson of the National Council of Province on the 24th December 2024. Thank you.
Honorable Harting, you may ask the first follow-up.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Hindsight is a very exact science. Now, with the outcome that we have seen in the DRC, if we go to the mandate was to assist the FADRC to neutralize M23 and other, and I quote verbatim, negative forces. Instead, our forces, in the bulk of the SAMI DRC forces, were neutralized due to the lack of support, air support, and logistical support. Now, in hindsight, and also looking at future similar missions, would the Minister have advised the President differently? And in future, will the Minister advise the President not to continue with the deployment on a so-called peacekeeping mission in these circumstances? Thank you.
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Good question. But I would advise you that the process of sending troops abroad for peacekeeping mission, you have to do what I would call a reconnoiter of the area you have to operate in. And secondly, you submit a comprehensive plan as to how are you going to achieve your mission. In this case, you are not going to have that answer until the Department of Defense has embarked on or has appointed a board of inquiry to respond exactly to your questions. In other words, after the President and Parliament has agreed to deploy, did the commanders of the SANDF assess the mission, the orders, and were they satisfied? If they were not satisfied, did they go back to the President and say, in order to achieve this mission, we need financial support of this nature or a military backup of this nature, of this size? You will only know that when an inquiry has been done, either a board of inquiry or a judicial commission of inquiry, as I've heard some of you in Parliament are calling for an inquiry. So I cannot give you an outright answer on that, except to say there is a need for this country to prioritize our engagements outside the country. If we go there, we go and do what? What is our national interest? And if we are unable to answer that question, Parliament then should debate that when the President in future asks for us to go to the defense, to do a peacekeeping mission.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Niehaus.
Thank you, House Chair and Honorable Deputy Minister. Thanks for a good answer. Especially thank you because it is in line with the answer that you gave this morning in the Standing Committee when you said It will be a great idea, and no sane person will not support a commission of inquiry. I sincerely hope, Deputy Minister, that you will convince your minister accordingly and also the President. Because, Deputy Minister, the President decided to inform the Joint Standing Committee about this deployment on the 24th of December 2024, while the decision was taken on the 16th of December. As a consequence, the President missed the deadline, and the deployment in terms of the law and the Constitution was actually illegal.
Thank you,
I
Honourable
want
Member.
to ask you, Deputy Minister, to bring that to the attention of the President.
Thank you,
because he
Honourable Leonard.
has to respond to it. Thank you.
Honourable Deputy Minister, I don't know whether you have a response.
Colney House. The minutes of this House during the debate, I think few months ago, will be provided to the Minister and the Presidency, so as to advise on this call by the members of Parliament who says there should be an inquiry. But we have an obligation as a Department of Defense that after such incidents, we have no choice but to appoint a board of inquiry. It might be a boards of inquiries. For instance, about 14 soldiers have died. We had to do an inquiry quickly so that their families are aware, and then the insurance companies will not give them problems. So there will be other boards of inquiry which will look at the tactical side of things, the deployments and so on. But yes, Honorable Member, we will convey your message loud and clear to the Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Zibi.
Chair, I will ask the question on behalf of Honourable Zibi.
Continue, please, the other Zibi, Honourable Ghana.
And I'll take the other Zibis that are on the question paper. Just to ask Deputy Minister, understanding that the troops that have to return will be the ones who were deployed under the Summit DRC, and the ones under MONUSCO are still remaining in the DRC. When can we expect the first troops that were part of the Summit DRC to be back in the country, understanding that they are currently in Tanzania? And is there a thought around those that are part of the MONUSCO mission on how long they stay in the DRC? Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Honourable Deputy Minister.
The Department of Defense leadership will take the cue from this House. The day you say the SANDF members who are under the UN auspices, then we will implement that decision of Parliament. For now, those troops will continue to operate under the UN until we are advised otherwise. Remember also that we are members of the United Nations, and we agreed to support the peacekeeping initiatives in the continent. Until such time that we are advised otherwise, we can say right now, there is no plan to withdraw the troops who are under United Nations in DRC. The only troops which are affected were those who were deployed under SADC mission. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Rekwana. Rekwana, my apologies.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Minister,
With SANDF readiness in crisis, over 52% of equipment unserviceable and domestic security deteriorating, how do you justify committing troops and millions of rands to the DRC without first presenting a cost-benefit analysis or strategic threat assessment to Parliament? Is this not a case of ignoring South Africa's own urgent defense needs to serve foreign interests, while communities of South Africa here in South Africa remains unprotected and borders porous?
Honorable Deputy Minister.
I would respond as follows. What you have just said makes sense. That what are our priorities? Given that now we have an crime escalating almost in every corner in the country, why can't we do an assessment? Perhaps this could be a justification to even recall those who are under UN, to say we have our own internal problem. We need a break of about 18 months, retrain those troops, reintegrate them to our society again, and also make sure that we have a strong defense force to protect the interests of South Africa first. And also, when we deploy in future, I wish that we can ask the UN or AU that how much are you going to give to us in terms of our equipment? Because it has been proven that the SANDF has been exhausted in terms of funding. So we have to review the whole setup. Let us not behave as if we are a Father Christmas and be good everywhere. So we need to retrain our defense force, re-equip them, and then we are clear about the mission given to us outside the country.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Honourable members, question number 548 has been asked by the Honourable Hatting to the Minister of Defence and Military Veterans. The question is about whether, considering the Public Protector's report on the irregular appointment of an unqualified intern to a senior position, what are the full details of the circumstances in which the irregular appointment was made by the South African National Defence Force Chief Director of Human Resources, and the outcome of the Public Protector's investigation into the matter? The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Can you repeat the question? There was a lot of noise around here.
548, Deputy Minister. It's about the irregular appointment of an unqualified intern to a senior position and the Public Protector's investigation and report into the matter.
In accordance with the constitutional and legislative framework, to provide a comprehensive and accurate response to the parliamentary question, it would be appreciated if the Department of Defense could be furnished more details with regard to the said employees. Specifically, kindly provide the following: the name of the intern in question and the job title of the post. Once the required details are provided, the DoD will be in a better position to provide a full and precise response to the parliamentary question. It must, however, be noted that in terms of the Public Service Act of 1994 and the Public Service Regulations, the Department of Defense cannot appoint an intern in a senior position. Thank you.
Honourable Hatting.
No, I would like to thank the Deputy Minister for that response. I've got no follow-up on that. Thank you. I will provide the information.
Thank you.
Honorable Neels, do you have a further follow-up question?
Yes, thank you, House Chair. House Chair, the problem of patronage and the appointment of unqualified staff based on favors to friends and family very seriously affects the Department of Defense. So the issue at hand is one that needs to be considered in the general context of what happens in the Department of Defense and military veterans. Can the Honorable Deputy Minister enlighten this Honorable House on what overall policy has been put in place to address this issue and to prevent such further appointments? If no such overarching policy is in place, why not, Deputy Minister? Thank you.
Deputy Minister?
Honorable member, we will look into this, as I've said, but overall, if you look at the Department of Defense as well as the military veterans, it's clear that some of the people who are occupying certain positions, they do not qualify or meet the requirements. This goes to question what kind of training did we expose our military personnel into? But Carl, I cannot give you details on that. But in the portfolio committee, sorry, Honorable Carl Niehaus, but in the portfolio committee, I'm sure we will give you all the details. I have to consult the HR on what the parliamentary members are saying. I cannot do a thumb sucking on that. I hope I've answered you.
Honorable Ghana, you may ask a third follow-up.
Thanks, Nakansa Chamastor. Deputy Minister, since your appointment as the Deputy Minister to this department, have you had instances where soldiers or troops or employees approach you to complain about the manner in which promotions happen within the department, and how have you handled those complaints if you have received them since your appointment as the Deputy Minister?
Honorable Deputy Minister?
The complaints have not started only when I was appointed a Deputy Minister. You must remember that I was part of the Defense Service Commission, which investigated the conditions of the Defense Force personnel. Immediately after some of them surrounded Union Building, President Zuma asked Minister of Defense, then Lindwe Sisulu, to ask me to be part of a team to look into these problems. We visited almost all these units. The issue of promotion was higher up, the complaint about promotions. Some would say we are not being promoted because we are not belonging to a certain category. Some would say those who were in the homelands, those who were in the APLA, those who were in the Azanla, they don't feature into the structure. That process has not been addressed adequately. And when I was appointed a Deputy Minister, yes, there were complaints about the promotions. But what we need to do is to summon the Defense Service Commission and say to them, according to your findings, as you have been doing your work visiting bases, which items have been implemented? Then you will be in a position to know that the problem is deep. So yes, the answer is yes.
Thank you, Deputy
That's right.
Minister. Honorable Member, why do you want to be recognized?
Is it possible that we give a round of applause after what you have said about it
You don't need
Good
my
work
permission
done
to
by
applaud in
President
this house. The last supplementary question may be asked by the Honorable Nchingila.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I'm not Honorable Njingila, I'm Siabongam Mkhize. I'll ask the question on behalf of Honorable Njingila. Has the department considered establishing a People's Defense Accountability Office to oversee recruitment and ensure that merit-based appointments are prioritized over political influence? If not, why not? If so, what are the relevant details and timeframes for implementation? Thank you.
Honorable Deputy Minister. It's the last follow-up. Deputy Minister, you have our sympathies. You've done more than your share today. Honorable Member, will you just quickly repeat your question?
Can you repeat your question?
Honorable members, let's allow this member to be audible for the Deputy Minister.
Okay. Has your department considered establishing a People's Defense Accountability Office to oversee recruitment and ensure that merit-based appointments are prioritized over political influence? If not, why not? If so, what are the relevant details and timeframes for implementation? Thank you.
The answer is a big no. We have not yet discussed such an approach. No, listen, don't get too excited. The Department of Defense and HR Department has got a policy where they visit various provinces and also use government gazette and radio stations to say those who are interested to join the Defense Force, they are welcome. They must apply. We have done that. But if there is a view, as you are explaining it or suggesting, talk to the member of the portfolio committee who represent your party, who in the Defense Portfolio Committee or Joint Standing Committee, to table that so that we can discuss it. What does it mean? It might well be that you feel that the recruitment of our troops are concentrated only in one area, and the people in the outlying areas are not. So bring it back so that we can look into it. I'm not discussing it at all. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members, question number 550 has been asked by the Honorable Hatting to the Minister of Defence and Military Veterans. 550, Minister. The question is about whether the Minister's Department has taken steps to launch a military board of inquiry or a judicial commission of inquiry regarding the South African National Defence Force casualties in the Democratic Republic of Congo, as suggested by the Deputy Minister, yourself, Deputy Minister. And if this has not been done, what are the relevant details of the format, scope, and the timelines of an investigation that is to be launched? Honorable Deputy Minister.
Once the withdrawal process from the area of operation is completed, the executive expects that there will be a thorough debriefing. Rather, the executive expects that there will be a thorough briefing on the entire operation. Following this debrief, the ministry, together with the commander of the SANDF, will provide direction on the terms of reference for the entire board of inquiry. With regard to the possibility of a judicial commission of inquiry, the ministry will also consider and advise the nation on this matter at an appropriate time. It is worth noting that Parliament has expressed a keen interest in ensuring that a thorough and transparent investigation is conducted. The ministry recognizes this concern and will engage accordingly on the potential establishment of such a commission. In terms of the timelines, the boards of inquiries, once completed, are subjected to due processes which would include the legal office as well as the commander. Therefore, the timelines of completion of board of inquiries will be confirmed. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Honorable Harting.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. As well as in this morning in the Portfolio Committee, a part of the question was responded to by a former general and the other part by a member of executive who recently jumped the fence from the oversight side. Honorable Deputy Minister, I would like to ask the question. In view of the media conference as what was held by the same people who now, according to your response, must decide on the way forward as far as the board inquiry is concerned. They have said in the media statement that the deployment was a success. Everybody else says it's a massive failure. Now, those people who say the deployment was a success must now decide on a board of inquiry. Is that not a serious conflict of interest? Taking into recognize that 14 of our soldiers were killed and 174 were injured, some seriously injured, maimed for the rest of their lives. Thank you.
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Honorable Harting, the success or not of the SAMI DRC deployment cannot be measured only on one incident. We need a comprehensive report from SADC, UN, DRC government, and SANDF. So it's not going to be in the interest of this country to give a judgment. Safe to say that the minister and the commander of the Defense Force, they have been involved in this operation. And we cannot therefore question them when they say the operation was a success or not a success. Rather, let's stick to what the Parliament asked us to do, investigate this matter. Out of the findings of such an inquiry, then we can give judgment to say this was a failure, this was not a failure. Remember that the mission of the SADC was to protect the people of DRC. When they were deployed there, questions will be asked, did you succeed on that score? And then UN, we are going to ask UN. Out of the casualties we have confirmed them publicly. But on your side, how many people were involved in that incident during that month? How many casualties did other side got? So it's not going to be easy. So remember,
Thank you, Deputy Minister.
Just cool down
Time has now
about
expired.
giving judgments. Thank you.
The second supplementary question may be asked by the Honorable Paulson.
Thank you, Chairperson. Minister, in addition to the 14 SANDF soldiers who were killed in the DRC, camps were overrun at Sake and Goma, and reports of SANDF personnel taken hostage by M23 rebels. Events suggest that this was a serious operational failure. In the light of these developments, will you call upon the President to establish a commission of inquiry to investigate the decisions, the strategic missteps, and the conditions that led to this outcome? in order to ensure accountability and restore confidence in the SANDF's leadership? If not, please explain the rationale for your position. Thank you very much, Minister.
Honorable Deputy Minister.
This parliament raised the need to have a judicial commission of inquiry. How I wish that members of parliament, at the end of the day, they will influence or give a direction as to what terms of reference should guide such an inquiry. So you depend on Parliament to take that decision. On our side, we will not resist that. But in the meantime, the boards of inquiry within the Department of Defense, as per the Defense Act, those ones will continue to take place. That question you are asking, it is this House which must direct it to the President through a judicial commission of inquiry. No shortcut. Thank you.
Honorable Ghana, you may now ask a follow-up question.
Let me ask a question that will not require this House to do much. To know when will the troops land in South Africa? Understanding that they are now in Tanzania, when are they touching down in South Africa so that we can see that they are safe and sound? So this question does not require Parliament to do anything. Thanks very much.
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Well, young man, you are out of order. You must ask questions properly. On a serious note, honorable members, the troops first phase of our troops are in Tanzania and they are safe. What is happening now, we are battling with the logistical support. There are those who will be coming by air back home. So you need to make sure that you have proper documentation in terms of PFMA. Who are you going to hire? Which companies have been listed or they've been targeted to do this work? Secondly, the equipment has to come back to South Africa. You can't leave your arms and your tanks behind. So the shipment of those weapons from Tanzania also we need to make sure that there is a ship identified to bring those weapons. So I'm not in a position, honorable member, to say the troops will come back tomorrow, but the minister and the commander of the Defense Force, they said they want to make sure that this operation of withdrawal is completed by end of the month. I'm not the minister, I'm just telling you what my bosses are saying.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Honorable Wikwana, your opportunity to ask the last supplementary.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Minister, in light of the SANDF fatalities in the DRC and ongoing deployment under severe budget and equipment constraints, how do you justify continued foreign operations without a formal inquiry into operational failures or accountability for troop safety, especially when over 50% of SANDF equipment is unserviceable and our forces are ill-equipped to respond to threats even within South Africa?
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Your question reminds me of the campaign by our predecessors who have been saying that the defunding of the Defense Force is not in the interest of national security. In order to address or reverse what you are saying, we would need, therefore, the support of National Treasury to say the Defense Force, let me say the government will say the Defense Force must be prioritized as one of the key institutions which must be helped. You see this, when you look at this Cuban deal, we must remember that in 1998, the defense spending was only targeted to replenish equipment for Air Force, Navy, but the Army itself is still operating trucks which are 34, 35 years old. And these Cubans came down to here to help and fix these vehicles inside the country. That's why they are still in a position to move around. The sooner we do a threat analysis for this country, look at the threat from outside, look at the threat from within, and whether, if there would be an uprising in future, would we have adequate equipment to quell such things? So there is a need to do a thorough appreciation. And then we say, as Parliament, we ask the government, please prioritize defense. When National Treasury says to us in the Portfolio Committee, the money which was supposed to have been given to defense was diverted to save the SOEs. It was channeled to free education and so on and so on. So we need to balance, apply a balancing act when we are talking about.
Thank you, Deputy
defense.
Minister.
Thank you.
Honourable members, on that sobering note, we've gone past the 30 additional minutes for this set of questions. The answer to the last question will be published in the ordinary manner. I request members to stand and wait for the chair and the mace to leave. That concludes business of the day. The House is adjourned.